Good afternoon. Welcome in here on this Thursday afternoon here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivan. Carlene Bragg is here in studio. How are you doing, Carlene?
Hi, Nick. I'm good.
We're chugging along.
We're trying to make it to Friday.
Friday Junior, Friday Eve, or just call it Thursday.
It's Thursday.
What people normally do. But we got a lot to get to, a lot happening. But let's start with this. We want to start with an update on a bit of breaking news that happened on I-85. We brought it to you here on Live Impact News earlier with Jane and Carlene. This is a look from the scene. This is from earlier,
yes.
Correct? This is from earlier. You may have, if you were watching, you saw this. So it was an armed robbery that led to a high-speed chase and eventually a crash on I-85 near the Gaston County line. Now, police say the suspect robbed someone at gunpoint outside of a Lowe's in Belmont before leading a high-speed chase on I-85 that ended with a serious crash. Belmont police, again, responded to that reported robbery at the Lowe's. And that Lowe's is on Caldwell Farm Road at around 7 a.m. And when officers got there, the victim said a man stole his cell phone, wallet, all at gunpoint before running away from the store. So that's when that chase ensued. And again, here is the aftermath from that chase. Carlene, you were here obviously in studio.
Long time. It was a lot of police cars.
Yeah.
Enough. Like we know we cover a lot of crashes here, of course, and you see a lot of cop cars, but we saw there was a ton, so we knew something was up.
Yeah.
And that many
bigger
cars.
Police presence than a normal just crash on the highway.
85 has crashes all the time.
Yeah.
This was like, I mean, this doesn't even do it justice. There was a lot more even when I first got in here. I said, woo, something happened here. Yeah,
I'm looking through our article now. You can find it right on the top of our website, WCNC.com, and also on our app. But again, it is obviously major traffic headaches as folks are getting into work. That's the update. As soon as we get more information on this, if we get more information, a name or anything, we'll be sure to update you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So we want to stick to the theme of highways. We want to talk about a controversial project, a project that's been getting some pushback. And there are a lot of questions surrounding it, right? We're talking about the I-77 project now happening later today. The historic community, Charlotte neighborhood and community that's expected to be impacted by this, McCrory Heights neighborhood, there is going to be a community walk to give residents and visitors a firsthand look at how infrastructure projects have impacted the community. It's been put on through Sustain Charlotte. So I just want to put that out there. That's happening. That's happening this evening. But there was a pretty good discussion with a couple of city council members, one being Malcolm Graham, the other one being Ed Driggs. We had them in studio, and Julie Kay is here in studio. She spoke with both men about the project. Again, a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. Give me your takeaway, because this is they came in separately, but this is this space, and this is for Flashpoint. I want Monday.
Yeah.
But it's a great space to kind of really flesh out what is happening.
This is an incredibly complicated issue. I think I told you last week, I've been avoiding it because it's so complicated. But since this is really, I mean, this is the hot topic in the community right now. This is affecting so many people. And there's a lot of, we're kind of in a waiting period right now to see what happens next. And so for our Flashpoint episode on Monday, we decided to bring in both Malcolm Graham and Ed Driggs to talk about where council is at right now. These are two people that, you know, may seem like they probably don't agree a lot of the time, but will have to work together to decide where council goes next. And so that's kind of where this discussion was. We didn't even really get into the tolls themselves and the benefits or disadvantages of each option of the elevated or the tunnels. We briefly touched on that, but really the overall discussion was about next steps for council and next steps for the project. At this point, nobody that we've spoken to is saying stop the whole thing. Everyone seems to be on the same page that I-77 is a problem. I mean, if you've driven on it, you know. And so there has to be some sort of solution here. What that solution is, at this point for NCDOT, is those elevated toll lanes that we've talked about. But we're in this waiting period where NCDOT has agreed to listen to the community more after hearing so many complaints from McCrory Heights and residents near Uptown who are saying this is going to negatively affect the environment, historical communities, noise, elevated lanes are going to be just a nuisance in general. You can't widen it any further. I think what was so interesting, though, is that what we heard from, again, two council members on opposite sides of the aisle who tend not to see eye to eye on everything, was they both said separately, you can't move I-77. It's already there. What we do now is how do we mitigate or minimize harm to the communities that are impacted while still trying to find a solution for Charlotte. And so, and this is not to speak for all of council, because there are still people that, may try to push to get a full stop, although that doesn't seem particularly possible at this point. And there are still a lot of people in the community, I want to point out, that do want a full stop on this project. But I think what's interesting now is if NCDOT is to change course at all. But at this point, I think council seems like they are willing to also listen to the community and see what people have to say.
Yeah, because that was the biggest thing. Community members felt like they were not being heard. And and correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, there was one meeting where there was actual sort of a, I don't want to even call it a protest, but maybe a protest in the middle of a meeting. So things got heated around this project.
Yeah, this is not an easy solution no matter what. I don't think there is a solution that every single person is going to be happy, which is not uncommon in city government in general. But this one just being something that affects so many people, not just who commute in Charlotte, but these neighborhoods that have been there for years that are going to be impacted no matter what the solution is.
And really no timeline, right? Because there's nothing sort of tangible. Like,
all we know at this point is that NCDOT has agreed to, a couple months of listening.
Yeah.
But I do want to be clear that the scope of the project has not changed. It's just getting community feedback. And you and I have talked about Sustain Charlotte opening up to a contest basically for people to submit their own innovative ideas for what I-77 could look like. But then at that point, we also have to talk about money. We already have this agreement with NCDOT. Some of these ideas that people may say minimizes harm probably cost more. The tunnel is the highest cost of the options that we've discussed so far. And that's not to say it doesn't have its own disadvantages too on top of cost, but I think that was an interesting tidbit that I took away from the conversations too, is some things unfortunately aren't feasible with the resources at hand.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just been the biggest thing. If you take away this project, just resources and funding, that's just been the biggest theme from last year carried over to 2026.
Yeah.
Julie, you don't want to miss this episode. I mean, you're going to do a preview of that episode this evening. When can folks catch that?
We'll have a little bit of our conversations with both of them at 4:30 tonight, and then Flashpoint, the full episode with both full conversations, will air at 9 p.m. on Monday.
Can't wait for that. You don't want to miss that one. Really great discussions. Julie K covering all things politics. That should be your tagline now. I always end with that.
You
Julie
do
K.
always end with, I like that. Yeah.
Covering all things
All
politics.
things politics.
Julie K. We can depend on her. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So happening right now, President Donald Trump is meeting in the Oval Office with the Japanese Prime Minister. That meeting is still underway, but we want to go from the top in case you missed some of what President Trump had to say. Let's take a listen in.
They never had the courage to do, and I don't blame them. I'm not blaming them. It was left to me, and we've done a great job. Our military is incredible. We have an incredible military. We have the strongest military in the world by far. We have the greatest equipment in the world by far. In fact, Japan buys our equipment, buys a lot of it, and we're honored by that. And that's one of the things we'll be talking. They want to buy a lot of the military equipment. So it's just an honor to have the Prime Minister. We've had a tremendous relationship. Okay.
Mr. President,
I think she's going to have to go first before you. Is that okay? Yeah. You understand? It's very good. I tell you. I mean, it's so nice that we don't have to sit. No, it's very good. I haven't picked up your language, so the next time you come, I'll have your language mastered. All right, go ahead.
The war is almost over. Why is the Pentagon going to ask Congress for an additional $200 billion?
Well, we're asking for a lot of reasons beyond even what we're talking about in Iran. This is a very volatile world, and the military equipment, the power of some of this weaponry is unthinkable. You don't even want to know about it. Oh, you could end this thing in 2 seconds if you wanted to, but we are being very judicious. But we want to do. Don't forget, Biden gave away. I rebuilt the military in my first term. Biden gave away so stupidly to Afghanistan a lot. He didn't want to move it. He was too lazy, too stupid to move it. But it was a very small amount. It was a lot, but it was very small relative to what I purchased and what I built. We want to have we want to have vast amounts of ammunition, which we have right now. We have a lot of ammunition, but it was taken down by giving so much to Ukraine. They gave so much. You know, Biden gave $350 billion worth of cash and military equipment to Ukraine, and he didn't rebuild anything. Fortunately, we have a lot. We have a tremendous, unlimited supply of what you'd call middle and upper middle armaments and military equipment, munitions, armaments, but munitions in particular. At the high end, we have a lot, but we're preserving it. We don't really need it, but we're building. Our manufacturers of military equipment are building at a level they've never seen before. They've never done before. Pete's in charge of it with all of us, really. But Pete's been very strong on it. The general and Pete, myself, the whole group. And Raytheon is building 4 factories. Lockheed is building 5 or 6 factories, and they're building them fast because we had a very tough meeting with them. They were going out and buying back stock for $51 billion in one case. They spent $51 billion buying back stock. Now they're not allowed to do that. And they are now building a tremendous, there's never been anything like it, what's taking place right now. So we're in very good shape, but we want to be in the best shape we've ever been in. We were that, you know, when I rebuilt the military, we were in great shape, and then Biden blew it, and he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. And if you listen to the Democrats, they don't even want to have a military. Now you see how important it is. But we have the strongest military in the world. We have the best equipment. We make by far the best equipment. The other night, they had 114 rockets shot at a certain location. And out of 100 highly sophisticated rockets, out of 114 sophisticated rockets, every single one of them was shot down with our equipment, all our equipment. It's amazing, actually, how good it is. So we want to be sure, and it's a small price to pay to make sure that we stay tippy-top.
Mr. President, you said...
Mr. President, the Treasury Secretary this morning said there were defections among Iranian leadership. Are you aware of that, and is there anybody the U.S. can work with as a leader going forward?
Well, we have a man named the Treasury Secretary here, so maybe he wants to discuss it. Does anybody know? Do you know who he is? Central Casting.
Yeah, so Ed, we are seeing the defections at all levels as they're starting to sense what's going on with the regime. It doesn't get reported here in the U.S. very well, but we are trouncing them from the air, and the regime will probably collapse within itself. At Treasury, we've seen where they've wired their money out of the country. We're coming for that. We're going to get it back to the Iranian people.
You're seeing defections?
Israel.
There's a lot of military defections also. You have a lot of military defections in Iran. I don't blame them.
Thank you, Mr. President. Have you talked to Prime Minister Netanyahu about attacking the oil and gas fields?
Yeah, I did. I told him don't do that, and he won't do that. We didn't discuss. We do. We're independent. We get along great. It's coordinated, but on occasion he'll do something, and if I don't like it, and so we're not doing that anymore.
And the last one, if I could, the Fed chairman told me yesterday that he plans to stay until a new Fed chairman is confirmed, and he also plans to stay on the board until the investigation into the Federal Reserve is done.
Well, he's under investigation because he's building a building for hundreds of billions of dollars more than it's supposed to cost. The building you see over there is under budget and ahead of schedule. That's the ballroom. The ballroom is a much bigger building. It's a much more complex building than what he's doing, and it's at a fraction of the cost. Something is going on, whether it's contractors. That's what I do best in the world. I build great buildings. I've always done it, and I build them under budget and ahead of schedule. They could have $4 billion. This is a renovation job for $4 billion. And if you look at the building, it's not even, I don't know if Kevin Warsh is ever going to be able to move into it. It's been under construction for years. It's the most expensive building ever built. Now, I know it's gross incompetent because I happen to think he's grossly incompetent. Today, certainly you should be lowering interest rates, all right? Certainly, who would not lower them? But he's stubborn, and he's got Trump derangement syndrome. But a lot of people have that, it's not a curable disease. But he's also building, he should be lowering rates immediately. But he won't do that because he's a stubborn, incompetent person, and that's a bad thing. When you're stubborn and incompetent, I think it's the worst combination. And he's also not a smart person. But he's building a complex over there that's under his jurisdiction. He started it, and it's out of control. It's billions of dollars for a little building. I could have done that building and made it beautiful for $25 million. $25 million, and it would have been beautiful. Look what I've done at the White House fixing it up, and I mean, the place was in bad shape. You see the floors and everything. It was in bad shape. I could have made that building beautiful for $25 million. They're spending $4 billion. All right. So there is criminality. Maybe it's with the contractor, but because I know more about contractors than any human being maybe that's ever lived. But that contractor is a very rich man. Whoever the contractor is, and we know. But whoever the contractor is an extremely rich man. He's going to make, he could make billions of dollars. I'm hearing numbers from $3 to $4 billion. That would make it the most expensive building on a square foot basis ever built in history. And you're not even building a building, it's a renovation. The exterior skin is staying, the steel is staying, the structure. So all I want to do is bring out to the public that this guy is an incompetent. He's a very incompetent guy. And he may be a dishonest guy, but somebody's dishonest because there's no way that building can be $3 to $4 billion.
Mr. President, on a straight of four news.
Thank you.
Please.
Mr. President, you just mentioned Japan.
This looks like one of your people right here.
Thank you.
Is he good or bad? Good, is he a good reporter or bad?
So.
Not all right, he looks like a nice guy. Go ahead.
Mr. President, you just mentioned Japan is stepping up. What kind of support do you expect from Japan in the future?
Look, I expect Japan to step up because, we have that kind of relationship, and we step up for Japan. We have 45,000 soldiers in Japan. We spend a lot of money on Japan, and we've had that kind of a relationship. So I'm not surprised that they would step up. We don't need much. We don't need anything. I mean, honestly, we don't need anything from Japan or from anyone else, but I think it's appropriate that people step up. In the case of Japan, I hear they get more than 90% of their oil through the strait. So that's a big reason to step up. I mean, we've demolished, that country is close to demolished. The only thing is the strait. It's very hard. You could take two people and they could drop little bombs in the water and they're holding things up. We don't want that to happen. But honestly, Japan, China, Europe, parts of Europe get a lot of their oil through the strait. We get none, practically. We're less than 1%. We don't have to be any percent. We don't even, I think we do it just to be nice. But we, think of it, we don't use the strait. We're defending the strait for everybody else. And then in the case of NATO, they don't want to help us defend the strait, and they're the ones that need it. But now they're getting much nicer because they're seeing my attitude. They're getting much nicer. But it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's too late. You know, UK wants to send aircraft carriers now. And I said, I want the aircraft carriers before the war. I don't want them after the war is won. They want to send me aircraft carriers after the war. There's practically nobody to shoot at them. You know, their missile count is down. Maybe you could discuss it by about 90-something%. The drones are way down, and the factories are being demolished. Maybe.
Yes, sir. Our missiles being shot are down over 90% since the beginning. One-way attack drones down 90% since the beginning, which is a reflection of overwhelming firepower. But you mentioned the most important part, Mr. President. Their defense industrial base. If you can't make more of it in the future, then you have a limited supply. And so we're going after all of their defense contractors that make all of their exquisite weapons and ensuring that even if they wanted to rebuild more launchers or more missiles, they couldn't in the future. And that's a level of devastation for their military that they've never seen before.
So we have, in literally 2 weeks, we've demolished their Navy, their Air Force. All technology is gone. All communication is gone. And all of the leaders are gone. Other than that, they're doing quite well. Okay, how about one more question for the Prime Minister? Let me pick a beautiful-looking person from Japan. A question for the Prime Minister. Go ahead. Me? Yeah. Oh, he doesn't believe he's beautiful. Oh. He sounded shy.
Go ahead. Of course, no, Japan and US are very good friends. But one question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? He's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what we, and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right? Okay, one more for the Prime Minister.
Mr. President.
Are you good for the Prime Minister?
Yes.
Go ahead, for the Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Japan's DJ Press. Japan's biggest concern is China. Now they're giving us export control and very harsh terms to criticize us. So could you plan? Will you plan to bring out relationship between Japan and China while you are there?
Yeah. Well, I'll be going to China very quickly, but I think I'd really like to have the Prime Minister talk about China because I know they have a little bit of an edgy relationship, and I'd just like to know where it stands, how you're doing with China. So, please.
で、日本はいつも中国に対してオープンです。会話はオープンにしています。それから 冷静に対応しています。でとにかく米中関係も含めてですね、これが地域の安定、それから世界のサプライチェーン、これに貢献するものであることを願っています。日本は常にオープンです。
So first of all, Japan has been consistently open to dialogue with China. And also, second, we have been addressing our relations with China in a calm manner. And also, speaking of the U.S.-China relationship, my sincere hope is that the relationship will be something conducive for regional security and also ensuring the global supply chain in the world. Once again, I would like to reiterate that Japan has been consistently open to dialogue with China.
And I think we're going to have a great trip. The trip has been postponed for about a month and a half. It's been reset, and we look forward to it. And I'll be speaking Japan's praises when I'm in China with President Xi. But we're going to have some good talks today, and I think mostly about trade because they want to do a lot of trade. They're a tremendous purchaser of our energy, our oil, gas from, in particular, Alaska. Because Alaska, believe it or not, is very close. It's much closer than any other source. It seems a little cold compared to, but it's just a short trip.
So that's something that we will talk after the press corps leaves.
We'll be discussing trade, and a lot of the talk will be about energy. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, President. Thank you, President. Thank you, President.
All right, so that is President Donald Trump there just moments ago inside the Oval Office with the Japanese Prime Minister. Let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. All right, March Madness underway. We got some games happening today. My High Point University Panthers, they're the 12 seed. They play the 5 seed Wisconsin at 1:50 p.m.
Aren't you proud?
I am proud. We never made the tournament while I was in school. We made the tournament for the first time last year. So, yeah. I mean, beautiful stadium. I wasn't around for the beautiful stadium. Long gone.
They said Nick's gone. Time to build it up.
Time to build another stadium. Nick's gone. But I'm proud of High Point University. I grew up going to the games as a kid. I shouted out a couple players, even friends I know and fraternity brother Melvin Crowder played on that High Point University team back in the 2000s. Arizona Reed was like a star in the city. He played on High Point University's team. But yeah, man, a lot of great guys that played that have come through High Point University. So I'm glad to see these young guys make it to the tournament.
Right.
150, all eyes, well, at least my eyes are going to be on that game, checking out my guys. But speaking of the tournament, we had a special guest yesterday.
Sure did.
Muggsy Bogues. Folks were excited about this one. When word got out, I didn't tell a lot of people, but when word got out that he was going to be here in person, it was a little bit of a buzz in the newsroom, Carlene.
People came from downstairs. There's people coming all over.
People coming all over. Muggsy's a big deal.
Of course.
So we got a chance to talk about the importance of heart health. Make sure you know your numbers.
Yeah.
And we talked some basketball.
Of course. You have to.
In the spirit of March Madness, in the spirit of the Hornets playing well. In the spirit of Muggsy. So let's take you now to the interview in case you missed it. But we got special guests here in studio, so I'm gonna do I'm gonna have him rate this intro because I've been doing these intros lately. I want him to rate this intro. It's a lot of pressure because we got a special guest, a Baltimore native, a Wake Forest Hall of Famer, a North Carolina Sports Hall of Famer, a beloved former Charlotte Hornet, helped lead the Hornets to their first ever playoff appearance in the early '90s. He worked in real estate, advertising, broadcasting. He was also the head coach of the Charlotte Sting, the WNBA team.
Shout out.
Shout out to them. More importantly, he has assisted thousands of folks and families with his foundation by addressing food insecurity, access to education, and workforce development. And he's here to talk about, we're talking about it all, from heart health to the NCAA tournament to the Hornets. I'm talking about Mr. Muggsy Bogues. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me.
And now you got to rank that intro. How was the intro?
Hey, you did good.
Okay.
It cost me quite a bit, but you did good.
How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm blessed to be here with you guys.
I was telling Muggsy as he was walking in, I said, man, what size is that jacket, man? I'm like, man, I wear large. I mean, you know, did you see the jacket?
I love the jacket.
Okay, I was about to say. I'm like, all right.
704.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Let's start with heart health, man. I guess when you think about, you know, a guy like yourself and these athletes, man, you guys are in tip-top shape. You don't really think of, as a viewer, as a fan, you're like, man, these guys are in shape. Well, you know, heart health, they're good. When did that start? I know as an NBA player, as a professional athlete, I mean, you're all constantly being checked by doctors, but when did that sort of come into play for you, thinking about your heart health?
Well, it always been in the play, back of your mind.
Yeah.
You know, always been, you know, thought process, but never really went through it until I retired. You know, even though you get your daily physicals and so forth, but I never really had a cardiovascular heart scan. But so I was interested and wanted to find out what was going on. And crazy that I'm saying is that, you know, I was recommended by the former owner of the Hornets, Mr. George Shen, who introduced me to HeartFlow. And when I, you know, realized what the company HeartFlow stood for, and they partnered with Game Film in terms of provide insight and information to retired athletes to find out what's all going on inside, you know, with your heart. And it's been amazing since I, you know, joined and since I did the study and joined those guys, and just to find out what's going on. And I'm so thankful I did it because we'd never know what's happening inside. As you alluded to, you know, being in tip-top shape, doing all the great things in terms of being the best professional athlete or athlete that you possibly can be, eating healthy, exercising right, but not knowing exactly what's going on around your heart. I think now they did a study where it starts at the age of 30 to where you need to be aware of that, how much plaque there possibly could be, you know, generating around your heart. So when I had the opportunity to go through that study, and actually I got my wife to go through it as well, but it's been an eye-opener. It's been something that I've been, you know, really advocating about because of some of my friends that I've lost, you know, and basically could have been not knowing it could have been prevented. So I just want to be, spread the word as much as I possibly can, for us to check on our health. It's not just athletes. We have, and even in our community, we have a lot of underlying issues that goes along. So you got to make sure that, you find out what's all happening. And I think, it all starts with, checking your cholesterol and all that sort of stuff that give you that sign to knowing that this is something that we need to really, invest in, to really check on what's actually going inside with your heart.
And as you were talking about, as men, as black men, we stubborn about going to. I think it's changing a lot.
It is.
But historically, we've been stubborn because we've been scared to go to the doctor. You're scared of the unknown.
The unknown. That's right.
I guess for you, and you talked about your wife being a part of HeartFlow. Can you walk us through like what exactly HeartFlow is and what you guys had to do?
Yeah, it's HeartFlow. It's AI. It's a non-intensive type of study that's been done on it. It's a scan, basically looking inside what's going on with the arteries, and being able to see exactly the type of plaque, the volume that's inside, and it gives you that indication. It gives you that detailed insight to really knowing the volume that you have inside with your heart. And it's a diagram, we visualize. It's a comprehensive assessment, a comprehensive assessment, I should say, in terms of actually finding out exactly what's going on inside of you. So I'm so concerned, and I'm always concerned about my loved ones, and I want to make sure that for me personally, that I'm here for a long time, and a lot of us just don't want to know. We just, as you said, we're afraid to know what's actually going on, but knowing, because you got so many people that cares for you, and not only that, it's good for your physician, clinical as well, to know what type of, risk you are, if you're high risk or you're low risk. So that information is always, vital. And for me, personally, I just wanted to know what was all going on inside, because I know a lot of folks that rely on me, and I want to be here for a long time.
Oh, man, we want you to be here for a long time, and we want to have you in here at 99 years old doing an interview.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is, I know we're talking about retired athletes and a lot of athletes about being an athlete, but it's for everyone. It's been a study that you need to age 30 years old, and that really has been detected. So it's be a good opportunity to really just find out, because you check with your insurance, quite sure it's covered through that, just to know what's all going on inside your arteries, because as we said, even an athlete as well as just an individual, you just don't know how much plaque that you create inside your heart.
Yeah, my father passed away from a massive heart attack when I was 7, and so I think about it, old school guy, did not want to go to the doctor, but I think about it, if you prioritize, and for me, I got a physical next week, and so it's just me prioritizing my health, and I feel like that's just a great message to get out, especially young men, right? Because you think in your 20s, your 30s, and you're like, man, I'm invincible. Nothing can.
But that's how we think.
Yeah.
And that's just the the nature of it, that we feel good. You don't have no type of symptoms or anything. But again, it could be hereditary. You never know what's going on in your family, as as some of us don't do that type of study and find out exactly what happened from generation to generation. But when you do have that understanding and have that information, it can be so helpful. It can put you at ease just knowing. And this test can give you that type of visual. It can give you that type of detail, insight that actually what's going on inside.
Let's switch gears. You want to talk about some basketball?
Oh, we can talk about whatever. Come on,
man. Hey, can I?
Bring him in.
But but we had to get the most important thing out of the way.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Talking about health, because we want everybody to be here for quite some time, and the only way we know is knowing what's going inside. I don't like being a crapshooter, just walking around not knowing. I think we all afraid to know, but we do need to know, so we can all take advantage of HeartFlow, what they all stands for. And if you need any information, you go to heartflow.com/Muggsy. So that is heartflow.com/Muggsy. You can find out all the information.
And know your numbers too. Know your numbers. Know your numbers. That's an important part.
Absolutely.
Eugene, man, I see you over there. You can't hide. Come on, Eugene. Come on. Pull up a seat, Eugene.
Come on in.
Pull up a seat, Eugene. We're talking basketball.
Yeah, you're right here. Absolutely, you can.
What up, homie? What's up, man?
Eugene Robinson here in the building. I called Eugene. Yeah. He ain't answered. So I thought, I didn't text him back.
Too busy for
Well, I was supposed to be here Monday.
Yeah.
Let's talk about basketball. Y'all ready to talk about some basketball? What y'all want to start with? NCAA tournament? Or y'all want to do Hornets first?
Hey, that's the most exciting time of the year, with all the enthusiasm taking place around the country. So, you don't get that from the NBA. It's only through college where you have that type of enthusiasm about the sport of the game of basketball.
I got my bracket up. Did you fill out your bracket, Eugene?
Of course I did.
Okay.
I filled out 4 brackets, man. I do 4 brackets. I do 2 of the men's side, 2 of the women's side.
Okay.
Yeah, I always do 4 brackets.
Well, so who's your sleeper? Who's the Cinderella, I should say? And who's just the obvious? You think, all right, man, this team is gonna walk through it.
Well, I think people need to watch out about Arkansas.
I've been saying the same thing.
It's mainly because of the players that they have. Of course, the coaches is one of the main reasons, but Darius A. Cup is something special. And when you got guard play like that, it always comes down to guard play in the tournament. And he's one of the best, if not the best, point guard that's in the country. So I'm always worried about players and teams with a great coach like that. So that's one of my sleepers. I got Houston as well. Houston, Coach Sampson, he's been there.
Yeah.
And he's been knocking on that door. And even though I had Duke all the way up to the Final Four, and that's hard for me to pick Duke.
That's an ACC
being a Wake Forest guy. Yeah, it's hard for me to pick Duke, but I think their injury is going to derail them a little bit. And I think Houston is going to come out of there, and I think Arizona could be that other team on the other side, to where you're looking at, even though Michigan is really, something strong, as well as Arizona. But I think Arizona and Houston will be the 2 fighting to see who the last team standing. And I got Coach Sampson being that guy holding up that trophy.
See, I really think that St. John's, nobody's talking about St. John's.
St. John's. Coach Pitino.
They are very, very good. They end up in the Big East tournament, they end up beating the crap out of UConn. They dropped like 25 on them. And so I think people may be sleeping on them. But I think as you look at that tournament, I don't know, there's something about Arizona that I just think is their front quarters, they're good. They're good. They're big. They're good. And so they can put work in it. And I think the fact that maybe Duke's front court, the biggest player is 6'9", which is Boozer.
Yeah.
They're on the board, but I think you get some of them 7-footers on the board. They just control the boards. Then it comes out to guard play, who's going to be able to dish the rock and find an open person.
What's working against Duke is historically a young team. Young teams don't win the tournament. Historically, it's usually those older teams, those teams that kind of been through it. But man, I look at BYU. That's my sort of my super team.
Yeah.
You got the number 1 draft pick essentially on the court. Possibly. He's looking like it, and he could solidify his place as a number 1 draft pick, just how he plays in this tournament. But I like BYU, and I like Miami. Miami's a
Yeah. It's unpredictable. It's so unpredictable. And that's what I love about March Madness. It's unpredictable. You just don't know. You don't know, and you have to go ahead and buy your popcorn and peanuts and watch the game. That's what I love about it.
That's so true. And it's something about Miami. I think that they had that run last year. I think this year the guard play is good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it's not as quite what it was last year. Clayton was something special, and their play now. I like the guards, but I just think they're going to run up to this wall doing.
All right, so that was that interview with Muggsy Bogues yesterday. You can find the full interview on our digital platforms, our website, and on YouTube. So let's head now here in Charlotte. Governor Stein is here in Charlotte. He has a packed day, but right now He's at Central Piedmont Community College here in Charlotte, where Governor Stein and public safety professionals highlighting how his critical needs budget will keep families safe by making investments into law enforcement. Let's take a listen in. He just got to the podium.
Thank you so much, President Diedemeyer, for your hospitality, for your kind introduction, and the weather. Good afternoon, everybody. It is wonderful to be back on the campus of Central Piedmont Community College. Our 58 community colleges across North Carolina are creating pipelines of opportunity for students in many different fields. Whether it's in the culinary arts building behind us, and by the way, their cookies are amazing, or the basic law enforcement training, CPCC is a wonderful example of an institution changing lives. I'm pleased to be joined this afternoon by Master Trooper Whit Eford and by Chief of Staff of the State Bureau of Investigation, Brent Culbertson. On January 31st, an 11-year-old boy in Holly Springs was on a pond, icy pond, and he fell through. Fortunately, Holly Springs officer Percy Evans was nearby. He immediately rushed to the scene, jumped in the water, and rescued that boy. He saved his life. But it wasn't the first time he'd saved someone's life. In 2019, he raced into a burning building to rescue a woman trapped inside. Saving lives is what heroes do. That's the kind of thing that so many of our state law enforcement officers do on a daily and weekly basis. Just as they step up to protect and serve us, so must we step up to support them. Many of you know that North Carolina is the only state in the United States that did not pass a full budget last year. But you may not know that the state has not passed a full budget in 2.5 years. A growing, thriving state like North Carolina cannot just limp along. We face certain critical needs that require immediate attention. That's why I have proposed, and the General Assembly must pass, a $1.4 billion critical needs budget. This critical needs budget includes $211 million going to urgent needs in public safety. To keep people safe, we need more well-trained officers on the beat in their communities, building trust and relationships. And to hire and keep the best people, we must adequately compensate them. But we don't. North Carolina ranks 49th in the country in starting pay for our state troopers. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that we have more than 270 vacant trooper positions. We're losing out on talented, service-minded people to other states, local governments, and other types of jobs because we do not pay our troopers enough. The state also ranks 49th in the country in starting pay for correctional officers. Again, it should be no surprise that the Department of Adult Correction has only half of the correctional officers needed to safely operate our state prisons. We're asking people to put themselves in a very demanding, albeit rewarding job, and asking their families to sacrifice on our behalf so that they can earn less money than they would if they worked at a Costco. In this critical needs budget, I am calling for a 10% increase in all correctional officer, trooper, and other state law enforcement officer pay. And while we're addressing salaries for our public safety officials, we need to make the Department of Adult Corrections whole. The DAC has approximately 1,000 more inmates today than it did just 3 years ago. Healthcare costs have increased by over 10% in that 3-year period of time. Meanwhile, the state has not passed a budget in 2.5 years. As a result, the department is facing a serious structural budget deficit, even with its significant efforts to cut and manage expenses. For the past year, the Department of Adult Corrections has been forced into the untenable position of having to ask their vendors to float them, the state of North Carolina, on its bills. This is unacceptable. In the same vein, we must fully fund the State Bureau of Investigations. The SBI caseload has gone up dramatically in recent years. In just 1 year period, they had a 21% increase in investigations. Their budget, however, has not gone up to match. The SBI is investigating some of the most serious crimes in our state: drug and human trafficking, financial crimes, hostage situation, murder, and more. It is ridiculous that the State Bureau of Investigation is being asked to operate in the red. Entering the field of law enforcement is not a choice that anyone makes lightly. It's hard work. It's underappreciated work. It's dangerous work. But it is meaningful and essential work. I urge the General Assembly to invest in our law enforcement officers because nothing is more important than keeping our people safe. I thank you for your time and attention, and I will now invite forward first Master Trooper Whittyford of the State Highway Patrol, and then Chief of Staff Brent Culbertson with the State Bureau of Investigation. Master Trooper Eford.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Governor Stein. It's an honor to be here and speaking with you on this issue today. I'm proud to stand here as a member of the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, representing the men and women who put the uniform on every day to serve and protect the people of this great state. My fellow troopers work long hours, they face dangerous situations, and make tremendous sacrifices to keep North Carolina roads safe. To us, it's not just a job, it's a commitment to public service and the communities we call home. But like many law enforcement agencies across the state and country, we're facing real challenges when it comes to recruiting and retaining the next generation of troopers. The work is demanding, and the expectations placed on our members are understandably high. To continue attracting qualified, dedicated individuals who are willing to answer the calling, we must ensure that our compensation reflects both responsibility of the job and the value our troopers bring to the people of North Carolina. Competitive pay is essential if we want to bring new recruits into the patrol and keep experienced troopers from leaving for other opportunities. Every time we lose a trooper, we lose years of experience and leadership that help keep our highways and communities safe. That's why we are grateful for the efforts being made here to address this issue. I want to thank Governor Josh Stein and members of the North Carolina General Assembly for recognizing the importance of investing into public safety and for their work to support law enforcement officers across our state. By continuing to prioritize meaningful pay increases for our troopers, you're not only supporting the men and women who serve today, you're also helping ensure that the North Carolina State Highway Patrol remains strong for generations to come. On behalf of my fellow troopers, our families, thank you for your leadership, your partnership, and the safety for North Carolina. Thank you. Now we'll bring up SBI Chief of Staff Brent Culbertson.
Good afternoon. My name is Brent Culbertson. I serve as the Chief of Staff for the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation. We at SBI are extremely grateful to Governor Stein to have been included in his critical needs budget request. These funds that have been requested specifically for the SBI are mission critical for our agency in order to better serve our law enforcement partners and keep people safe across the state of North Carolina. The State Bureau of Investigations was founded in 1937 and provides investigative and technical assistance to a variety of law enforcement partners. Our role and essential mission is to serve. In the last year, we have endeavored to do just that. To serve our sheriffs, our police chiefs, our district attorneys across the state of North Carolina who call on us daily to be a support. Like Governor Stein said, we help solve and prevent serious crimes like homicides, transnational criminal organizations that traffic drugs into our state, internet crimes against children, and human trafficking, just to name a few. And while our budget has remained constant our caseload has increased. From calendar year 2024 to 2025, we have had a 21% increase in investigations and a 33% increase in processing crime scenes. Across the board, our activity has increased, largely because we've been able to shift our focus back to proactively serving both our law enforcement partners and the citizens of this great state. So in order to continue our work and to keep supporting law enforcement partners, we need these valuable resources. The State Bureau of Investigation remains ready to serve and protect the state of North Carolina, and we are extremely grateful to be a part of Governor Stein's request. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it back over to our governor.
Thank you. We're happy to take questions at this time, and if you have questions for either SBI or Highway Patrol, just so declare. I don't think it was universally so. Maybe for some departments versus others, we took a holistic view of state government. But if the State House wants to put more money into public safety, I will say yes.
What do you make of this long range? That only state has. What is the real world impact? No world impact to taxpayers here in North Carolina. What will they see in their daily lives?
Right now, North Carolina is ranked 49th in starter trooper pay, 49th in correctional officer pay for starting officers. We're 43rd in teacher pay. We're 50th in the amount of what we invest on a per pupil basis based on our ability to pay. We are underfunding critical services that will educate the next generation, services that keep all of us safe, and it's unnecessary. If the General Assembly will come back and do their job, then they can make the critical investments that the people of North Carolina surely deserve. You want to take that one? It's just about recruitment and retention.
Say that one more time, please.
Just recruitment efforts, you mentioned the vacancies, the number of vacancies for troopers, is what you're doing to try to recruit, whether that's here in the Charlotte area or elsewhere around the state?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got recruiters that are here with us today. We are out in the communities trying to do our best to recruit, but you know, it's one of those things where other agencies are paying more money right now, so it's tougher out there than it was in the past.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. Excellent. Thank you.
All right, so that is Governor Josh Stein live here in Charlotte at Central Piedmont Community College, talking about investment into public safety. All right, let's come back out here and let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Colder morning, which has been the trend this week, but it's warming up. It's warming up. I was just out there for lunch. It felt fantastic outside. It was like light jacket weather, but a far
That's what you
cry.
like.
Yeah, a far cry from what it was on Tuesday,
Mhm.
even yesterday. And it's only going to get warmer. It's going to actually feel like splish splash.
Splish splash.
In the words of Carlene,
Splish splash weather.
by Sunday. Let's get a check of your full forecast with Majestic Storm.
We have another nice, very comfortable day today all across the Carolinas, and we're enjoying the sunshine while it lasts, although I do think we'll have a little bit more cloud coverage later in the day. Hey everyone, I'm meteorologist Majestic Storm, and it is going to be a nice Thursday. Temperatures will continue to rise right around into those mid-60s, and that's about the normal for this time of the year. You can see increasing cloud coverage already happening there at Lake Norman, but the big story today is that it's finally not so cold. The last couple of days, we've been struggling with those cold temperatures, not just those starting temperatures, but even those overall daytime highs. We'll be back into the mid-60s this afternoon, 70s by tomorrow, and then taking a look ahead at this weekend, did you know that we have 80-degree temperatures on the way? If you're heading out the door this afternoon, just keep a light layer handy. You might want a jacket. Really, at times, you may not need it with those mid-60s returning. We will have more clouds as we're wrapping up our Thursday, and then it clears out nicely overnight tonight. The mountains, over the last couple of days, it's been a struggle. Just 2 days ago, your high temperatures were in the 20s, so I'm sure these 50s are feeling pretty nice. 55 there in Boone, 54 in Blowing Rock. Not a ton of sunshine today there in the mountains. You're already tapping into a lot of cloud coverage that will ultimately spread across the rest of the Carolinas later on today. 67 in Morganton, mid-60s there in Maiden, and that's exactly where we'll be today here in the Queen City. Just an overall really pleasant day. 66 in Monroe and 66 in Lancaster. Today is the last full day of winter. Did you know that? Tomorrow is officially the first day of spring, and boy, are we happy about it. Spring officially starts tomorrow at 10:46 in the morning, so it is going to be spring, and thankfully it is going to be a beautiful spring day. The one thing that's not so great when it comes to spring-like conditions will be the pollen. How are your allergies doing? I know a lot of people who suffer from allergies. It has been a struggle. Unfortunately, this weekend it is going to worsen, so make sure you're taking care of yourself and getting yourself ready and prepared. It's just that time of the year. Satellite and radar looks fine. No rain chances today or tomorrow. Isolated chances on Saturday. We're trying things out again on Sunday, and only a spotty chance again on Monday. It is going to be nice for Thursday, even after dinner time. If you're somebody who likes to go out and walk your neighborhood as you're heading into the hours after dinner time, it'd be a nice evening to do that. Heading out the door for our Friday, temperatures mainly into the 30s and 40s, so a little cool in the morning, but Friday afternoon, we're back into the 70s. This is our day planner for tomorrow. Notice plenty of sunshine for the first half of our day. Temperatures climb into the 70s, and then a little bit more cloud coverage later in the day. Now, as far as the next several days ahead, I think truthfully, the big story is we're seasonal today. We're back into the mid-70s tomorrow, and then 80-degree temperatures will return both Saturday and Sunday. I don't think we'll break any records, but we're going to get mighty close to that. Heading into next week on Tuesday, highs only rising into the upper 50s. So it's March. Those temperatures are kind of just all over the place. So my question for you is, do you have any outdoor plans this weekend? I hope you do, especially if you love beautiful warm weather. Saturday, 82 degrees, perfect conditions even if you're waking up early and heading out to the golf course, or maybe you're taking your boat out, you're heading out to go fishing. 88 on Sunday, so it is going to be a warm one. There's that Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. We're back to normal today, getting warmer by Friday, 75 degrees. That is nice. 2 80-degree days Saturday and Sunday. Tuesday will feel a little bit cooler, but then we'll warm right back up. Hope you have a great day.
All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So earlier today, we heard from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. And during this press conference, his briefing, he's been holding pretty regularly since the Iran war has started. He promised the families of fallen service members he would, quote, finish this and honor their sacrifice as he delivered updates on the war with Iran. Let's take you now to that briefing in case you missed it.
Well, good morning. Yesterday at Dover Air Force Base, President Trump, the chairman, and I stood in solemn silence as heroes came home. Flag-draped caskets, we honored them. We grieved with their families, and we listened. What I heard through tears, through hugs, through strength, and through unbreakable resolve was the same from family after family. They said, finish this. Honor their sacrifice. Do not waver. Do not stop until the job is done. My response, along with that of the president, was simple. Of course, we will finish this. We will honor their sacrifice. Their sacrifice only steals our commitment. I wear this bracelet. Staff Sergeant Jorge Oliveira, he was one of my sergeants, or one of my specialists in Guantanamo Bay. He deployed later to Afghanistan, where he was killed on 19 October 2011. Killed 10 years after 9/11, 15 years ago. He was one of the 1%, the best of America. Not just a guardsman, but a law enforcement officer back home, and a family man. I remember him every day, just like so many other men and women of our generation and previous generations who wear bracelets like this. Just as we will always remember those lost in this conflict. Their names are now etched into our mission and into the soul of a grateful nation. I stand here today speaking to you, the American people, not through filters, not through reporters, not through cable news spin. A dishonest and anti-Trump press will stop at nothing, we know this at this point, to downplay progress, amplify every cost, and call into question every step. Sadly, TDS is in their DNA. They want President Trump to fail. But you, the American people, know better. Yes, there are reporters in front of me, but they are not our audience today. It's you, the good, decent, patriotic American people. You, the hardworking, tax-paying, God-fearing American patriots. The media here, not all of it, but much of it, wants you to think, just 19 days into this conflict, that we're somehow spinning toward an endless abyss, or a forever war, or a quagmire. Nothing could be further from the truth. Hear it from me, one of hundreds of thousands who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, who watched previous foolish politicians like Bush, Obama, and Biden squander American credibility. This is not those wars. President Trump knows better. Epic fury is different. It's laser-focused. It's decisive. Our objectives, given directly from our America First president, remain exactly what they were on day one. These are not the media's objectives, not Iran's objectives, not new objectives, our objectives, unchanged, on target, and on plan. Destroy missiles, launchers, and Iran's defense industrial base so they cannot rebuild, destroy their navy, and Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Our objectives from day one. To the patriotic members of the press, nobody can deliver perfection in wartime. This building knows that more than anyone. But report the reality. We're winning decisively and on our terms. Iran is a vast country, and just like Hamas and their tunnels, they've poured any aid, any economic development, humanitarian aid into tunnels and rockets. That's what they did with Hamas. Iran has funneled decades of state resources, not to their people, but into missiles and drones and proxies and buried facilities. But we are hunting them down, methodically, ruthlessly, and overwhelmingly, like no other military in the world can do, and the results speak for themselves. To date, we've struck over 7,000 targets across Iran and its military infrastructure. That is not incremental. That is overwhelming force applied with precision. And again, today will be the largest strike package yet, just like yesterday was. As I've said from day one, our capabilities continue to build, Iran's continue to degrade. We're hunting and striking death and destruction from above. Iran's air defenses flattened. Iran's defense industrial base, the factories, the production lines that feed their missile and drone programs, being overwhelmingly destroyed. We've hit hundreds of their defense industrial bases directly. Their ability to manufacture new ballistic missiles has probably taken the hardest hit of all. Ballistic missile attacks against our forces, down 90% since the start of the conflict. Same with one-way attack UAVs. Think kamikaze drones, down 90%. Now, the Iranians will still shoot, we know that, but they would shoot a lot more if they could, but they can't. The last job anyone in the world wants right now? Senior leader for the IRGC, or Besiege. Temp jobs, all of them. And to borrow a page from Admiral Ernest King in World War II, we've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half. We've damaged or sunk over 120 of their Navy ships, with battle damage assessments pending for many more. See, oftentimes we have to wait a few days on battle damage assessment to get the real number. Their surface fleet is no longer a factor. Their submarines, they once had 11, are gone. Their military ports are crippled. Iran has terrorized the United States and our interests for 47 years. Their core industries, not steel or agriculture, or tourism, their core industries are state-sponsored terrorism, proxy militias, underground networks, ballistic missiles, and a violent, messianic, Islamist ideology chasing some sort of apocalyptic endgame. A regime like that, refusing to abandon its nuclear ambitions, is not just a regional problem. It's a direct threat to America, to freedom, and to civilization. The world, the Middle East, our ungrateful allies in Europe, even segments of our own press should be saying one thing to President Trump. Thank you. Thank you for the courage to stop this terror state from holding the world hostage with missiles while building or attempting to build a nuclear bomb. Thank you for doing the work of the free world. Yesterday's ceremony reminded us why we fight. Not for nation building or democracy promotion, but to crush direct threats to America, Americans, and our interests. We fight to win, and we are winning on our terms, following our objectives. My 13-year-old son popped into my office last night while I was editing these remarks. He asked about the war and the families I met at Dover. And I looked at him and I said, they died for you, son, so that your generation doesn't have to deal with a nuclear Iran. It's the truth. And they did. So to the families who said, finish this, we will. And I say the same to every American who wants peace through strength. May Almighty God continue to bless our troops in this fight. And again, to the American people, please pray for them. Every day, on bended knee, with your family, in your schools, in your churches, in the name of Jesus Christ. To the troops, keep going, and Godspeed. Over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you all for being here. I also had the honor yesterday, as the Secretary said, of traveling up to Dover with the President to welcome home our 6 fallen. It was an honor and a privilege for me to be there and to say thank you to their families, and I want to mention their names this morning. From the 6th Aerial Refueling Wing out of MacDill Air Force Base, Florida, but stationed as part of an active associate unit at Birmingham, Alabama, Major Alex Klenner, John Alex Klenner, Major Ariana Savino, she was posthumously promoted from captain to major, and Technical Sergeant Ashley Pruitt, the boom operator on that crew. From the 121st Aerial Fueling Ring, Ohio Air National Guard out of Rickenbacker Air National Guard Base in Columbus, Ohio, Captain Seth Koval, Captain Curtis Anks, and now Master Sergeant Tyler Simmons, who was also promoted in the boom operator on that crew. To a person and every family member I spoke with yesterday, they all shared that their family members loved serving, they loved being part of a great team and a crew, and they loved airplanes and aviation. Our nation's tanker crews really are unsung heroes, incredible warriors who put their lives on the line so we can continue to take the fight to an enemy. I've personally witnessed their courage and tenacity many times, from the morning of September 11th, where they answered my call for some help, to the skies over foreign countries where they've come forward out of their safe tanker track to give me gas when I simply could not leave a ground force that was engaged in a firefight. They've answered the call and come forward time and time and time again. I'm filled with incredible pride and gratitude for all that the tanker crew.
All right, so that was the Pentagon briefing from this morning, updating us on things in Iran. Let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So happening right now in Washington, D.C., the U.S. Supreme Court is honoring the memory of the late Justice Sandra Day O'Connor with a meeting of the Supreme Court's bar, followed by some other things that are happening. But again, that ceremony, the honor event is happening right now. Let's take a listen in to what's being said.
Marked males only. These obstacles may have altered Sandra O'Connor's path, but as her quarter century on the court would reveal, her non-traditional road to the court helped her develop other skills that served her well. She was no stranger to being the first or only woman. Looking back, it seems incredible that as late as 1973, she was the first woman ever to serve as majority leader in a state senate. When she was elected to the trial court in 1974, she was one of just 3 women, 2 elected just that year. And when she was appointed to the Arizona Court of Appeals in 1979, again, she was the only woman on the court. Because of her own experience with discrimination and her battles against the feminine stereotype, she understood the challenges faced by others. In an early opinion, she wrote that if the statutory objective is to exclude or protect members of one gender because they are presumed to suffer from an inherent handicap or be innately inferior, the objective itself is illegitimate. Her years in the Arizona State Senate also proved useful. She knew from personal experience how the political branches of government operate and how they can and should interact with the judicial branch. She understood the legislative process and the challenges of statutory interpretation in a way that few professors and judges can emulate. And she brought to the court her unique experience as a state trial court judge, which allowed her to understand our justice system at its most basic level, where laws and court proceedings directly impacted the people in front of her. And her various work experiences, were not the only factors that underlay her success as the first woman on the Supreme Court. During her first term, our group of law clerks, Brian Cartwright, Debbie Merritt, John Dwyer, and I, benefited not only from our front seat to history being made, but from the opportunity to learn from the justice in ways that applied far beyond the august walls of the court. Growing up on the remote Lazy Bee Ranch in Arizona, as you know, she often referred to herself as a cowgirl from eastern Arizona, indelibly shaped her approach to life and work. She credited growing up on the ranch with developing a sense of independence and a work ethic evident throughout her life. No job was too hard to undertake, and no job was too small to do well. And we received a master's course in using time wisely as the justice dealt during her first term, not only with the work of the court, but also with unremitting public scrutiny. Thousands of letters from members of the public, all of whom expected a response. Daily, unscheduled visits to her chambers from those who knew her well and those who did not. And the expectation that she could be everywhere, everything, all at once. We saw the justice manage a seemingly unmanageable schedule through her uncanny ability to focus on whatever was most important at the moment, to finish that job, and then move on. We saw the justice always make time for her family and friends, no matter the other calls on her time. You will hear more about the transformative experience of serving as a law clerk to Justice O'Connor. Allow me to close by saying that describing her work as a public servant as tireless relies upon a word both overused and too puny to capture the magnitude of her efforts to protect our justice system and to leave this world a bit better than she found it. We are all in her debt. I turn now to comments from other O'Connor law clerks. The Honorable Shri Srinivasan, Chief Judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, the Honorable Richard Taranto of the United States Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, Professor Lisa Kern-Griffin of Duke University School of Law, and the Honorable Scott Bales, former Chief Justice of the Arizona Supreme Court. We represent the 112 law clerks who served with Justice O'Connor and will attempt in a relatively short time to provide some understanding of the extraordinary woman with whom we worked and the honor and joy we experienced from serving as her law clerks. Judge.
Thank you, Ruth, and good afternoon, everyone. This gathering happens to take place in the middle of Women's History Month, and we pay tribute to a person who defines the category. By the time Justice O'Connor was appointed to the court, 101 men had served as its justices. She then joined it, bringing with her half of humanity. About our own sense of the significance of our appointment, I'll only say this, and I think we law clerks likely all share this impression. She recognized her profound place in history. How could she not? But she had zero sense of entitlement to occupy it. She was self-aware, even self-assured, but not at all self-impressed. She put her head down and simply did the work, and we got to bear witness. When I came to the court today, I sought to repeat what has become something of a ritual when I find myself in this building. What happens in the normal course is this. I walk down the hallway from the Maryland Avenue entrance and pause just before getting to the statue of Chief Justice Marshall and turn to my left and look up at the portrait of Justice O'Connor. And then I smile. It's an instinctive reaction, bound up in appreciation and in many reflections about being in her company. I'm pleased to share a couple of those experiences today. As Ruth mentioned, Justice O'Connor grew up on the Lazy Bee Ranch in Arizona. It's a fun footnote of history that of all people, Sandra Day O'Connor came of age in a place bearing the name Lazy. One would be hard-pressed to find a single word in the dictionary less.
All right, so that is a ceremony happening right now as the Supreme Court of the United States honors the late Sandra Day O'Connor. All right, let's come back here at home and let's talk about an issue that a lot of folks here are talking about. I had a conversation this morning at the barbershop, and we were talking about rising gas prices, rising tensions overseas. I mean, they're hitting home, and as I mentioned, they're right here hitting here at the gas pump as the war continues to drive up fuel prices. Some local businesses that rely on gas each day are really feeling the squeeze. WCNC Charlotte's Bria Smith is live for us right now. Bria, looks like you're at the pump there at Quick Trip. Tell us who you spoke with and what folks are saying.
Yeah, Nick, well, I actually had to get gas myself, and I will say in my own personal vehicle, normally spend about $40. The other day I walked out spending $52, so $12 more than I actually would, which definitely changed my mood for sure. But I had the chance today to speak to some landscaping companies who literally rely on gas or diesel for not only their vehicles, but also their equipment. So that's weed whackers, lawn mowers, things like that. Gas, especially diesel currently, which is what they heavily rely on, is about $5.29. Currently looking at the board here. And I spoke to landscapers who pretty much says once you add this up, the amount of trucks, the amount of crews, the amount of equipment that you have, this really can look at thousands, hundreds and thousands of dollars, hundreds weekly, thousands overall. They're not sure how long this will last. Some say that they'll have to heighten their prices and their contracts, but others say they're going to maintain the same contracts and not up their prices. But they're not sure when this might end. So they're just trying to take it as it comes. They say they'll start to see those real big impacts come next week as these gas price changes are pretty new. So they're just going to see, how this all plays out for them. But they are definitely feeling the effects of these heightened gas prices. And I know I am too.
Yeah, Bria, a lot of folks are. And again, those gas prices continue to go up. You catch Bria at 4 o'clock with more on the impacts, gas impacts on these businesses. Bria, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We want to take you now to Oakland County, Michigan, where the sheriff there is holding a press conference to discuss the attack on Temple, Israel, and how the community moves forward. Let's take a listen in.
The case is still active, and so the video that was released without permission of the lead investigative bodies, and it's kind of put the community, I think, in a bad spot, frankly. I mean, imagine, if you will, if this was your home and somebody had broke into your home looking to kill your kid, and you saw a video on the news about it, how traumatized, re-traumatized you would be from that event. So a bit soon for that to be out there, and we'd encourage other folks to take a breath and balance their need to share video with how it impacts the victims and the investigation. I know that the Temple put out some pictures of their own under their control. That's their building without faces. That should be their process at the moment if they want stuff. The evidentiary photos, the body cams and stuff, that ultimately will play out over time as it would in a traditional case. And so no more of that should be coming out in the immediate future until the FBI makes a formal determination of a number of things. As you know, and we talked about this before, the FBI and U.S. Attorney have different boxes they check as it relates to whether they call it a hate crime or terrorism based on certain things. I can call it terrorism as a person because it terrorized the people in the community, it terrorized the families and members of that temple, it terrorized the staff and people at large. You know, I saw the looks on their face, they were terrorized. I hugged moms and dads, they were terrified and terrorized. Legally, that definition will come from the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. So I just wanted to touch base on some of that because we're still getting requests from some media for pictures or photos, and that's not going to be coming out until the FBI makes that final determination, and it will be out in due time. Second, kind of a reset. So it seems like to me that anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic behavior has become normalized. Not here, not with us, not with our team, and not with law enforcement in Oakland County, but across the country, it's been allowed, and that's unacceptable. You know, you see kids at colleges getting yelled at and bullied and even physically assaulted simply because they're Jewish. We as a community, we as a nation have to stand up. I don't care what party you're in, I don't care what job you're in, whether it's in public or private venue, we have to stand up and say, no. This is unacceptable, because as this gets normalized, you'll see it play out in real world. The statistics are stark. Between 2020 and 2024, there was a 344% increase in targeted reported incidents against Jewish community and individuals. Now, again, any hateful act against any religion, any person, or any race is unacceptable and will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But we also know that of the reported incidents that were targeted based on religion, almost 70% of them were against Jewish people. And somehow that's become normalized. And 2025 and 26 now have even worse numbers. So we all need to stand up, again, public or private. If somebody in a private conversation says something anti-Semitic, you need to stop them, because that begins to play out and embolden people and make them feel comfortable to say and do stupid, hateful things. And sometimes then people are motivated to take that into action and do criminal, violent things. So, I was pushing the wrong thing. Thank you. Okay, I'll let you push it.
Just give me the time when you want.
Just the next slide. So, I give you this by way of example. Some pond scum felt empowered and emboldened enough to put this picture of me up to try to threaten and intimidate me, which of course he didn't do because I signed up for this. And by the way, the person that did this said a bunch of terrible things, not just against me, but against a lot of groups and individuals, who, by the way, was arrested today in Wisconsin. My point is this, though. If this person is emboldened and empowered enough or feels safe enough to do this for me, what does he do to a kid? What does he do to a Jewish family walking down the street? And that's because of the normalization of this. Watching this on television and saying, okay, I feel empowered enough that I can do this. Well, A, you can't. And B, if you think you can do it to somebody that's in law enforcement, again, what are you going to do in an alley or on a street to a Jewish family or a kid walking down the street? We say no. We're drawing the line. Next one. One of the most chilling things that I saw many, many years ago is I saw a picture of police officers in Germany that were helping arrest Jews to send them off to their deaths. And that has stuck with me ever since. That was 20 years ago. And this picture shows a police officer that said no and he was put to death. My point of showing this is normalization is like the frog in the pot story, where it starts off and the pot is sitting on the stove and it's cool and you drop the frog in and you slowly turn up the heat and all of a sudden the frog is boiled and didn't realize it happened. This heat has been slowly turning up, and the absolute vitriol against the Jewish community has been ramping up over time to the point where people look at this and say, oh, that will never happen here. They probably said that there. And we all collectively have to say no. And that's why I'm so proud and happy to have all the folks behind me from the interfaith, from a variety of faiths. Doesn't matter what faith you are, you're represented here. And again, all these faiths have been targeted by hateful people, but we're talking about what happened recently and the statistical percentage of targeted attacks against Jewish people. So where do we go from here? Excellent. As you saw earlier, House of Worship training, you can scan that QR code. We did that in December of last year. We're offering it again now. People can go and sign up, and we're going to provide that training at no cost based on the number. We're going to pick a venue that will accommodate that. Obviously, our first accommodation is going to be any facility inside of Oakland County, but we'd like to accommodate anybody that's interested in the region, so that will be based on the facility and sign up. The second thing we're going to continue to do is communicate and partner. Our partners, West Bloomfield, Chief Young and his team, and all of the agencies in Oakland County. You saw over 600 police officers come to that event. We're even getting complaints we sent too many people. Let me be clear. If we've got people in risk, we're sending whoever we need to send, and we're going to take care of the situation and the threat, period. And if you think we sent too many people, turn off the TV. We're going to send what we need to send to stop the threat, protect the people, and make sure the situation is made safe. We're going to continue to do that partnership. As I said, before this attack happened, we were texting and communicating, and we're going to continue to do that, prepare and communicate with our safety and security partners in the different facilities. As I said, on Tuesday, I had texted Danny at Temple Israel with some information, and we're going to continue to do that going forward, because you have to have that communication so you're all on the same page. So tragically, if something shows up at a door, we all know how to act. You saw that play out in real world. Not only did the safety and security team there act according to their role, the staff marshaled the kids and did their role, and then law enforcement hustled in to do their role, which was to stop the threat and evacuate the innocent. We're going to continue to do that. We also are going to make very clear we have zero tolerance for threats. After Oxford High School shooting, we got inundated with all sorts of threats, bomb threats, shooting threats, and we track them down. If you make a threat against a facility or institution, That is a crime, and we will find you. Zero tolerance. And the most important thing that I'm going to close with, if you see something, say something. Because the only way we get in front of these is someone tells us they saw or heard something. There's a thing we call leakage. There's usually some precursor that someone sees or heard. And it has to be shared robustly. And we have gotten in front of things in the past. We actually stopped a 6-year-old with a gun on the way to school after a parent told us that their little kid had heard about a threat. So we can get in front of these things if we share information. And we'd rather check out 100 nothings and miss one real deal. So that's going to be the watchword going forward as well. There will be continued communication about the case specifically with us and Chief Young and the FBI. So that you'll get in the near future, as this continues to play out with the specific language and those kinds of things. At this point, there's nothing to lead us to believe there was anybody else involved or any secondary location. So we have no information that anything specifically is at risk or is a target, but we will continue, all of us, to collectively provide extra patrol and response to houses of worship across our region. With that, I will kick it over to anybody that would like to has a statement from the faith community or the temple, and then we'll take questions at the end.
Thank you to Sheriff Bouchard, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, all of our community partners and law enforcement. I am Rabbi Josh Bennett from Temple, Israel, and I'd like to offer a brief statement on behalf of our community. As you know, 1 week ago, our sacred home was attacked when a man drove his vehicle through the front doors with nearly 150 children, teachers, and staff inside. But thanks to the swift and courageous response of our staff, our security team, and law enforcement, no children or staff were harmed other than consequential injuries. And for that, we are profoundly grateful. But we cannot mistake this moment of survival for true safety, because what happened last week at Temple Israel is not random, it was not spontaneous, and it did not occur in a vacuum. This was the product of hatred that, as the sheriff said, has been allowed to grow in classrooms, in public discourse, online, until it became violence. This is not a statistic. These are our children. This is our congregation. This is our community. So we stand here today with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office because the fight cannot be fought by the Jewish community alone. It is not only a Jewish problem. This is a problem for all of us in Oakland County. It is a problem for all Americans. And anti-Semitism is a warning sign, because when hatred of Jews is tolerated, all of our communities will eventually suffer. To our congregation at Temple Israel, we will return. We will not be defined by the violence done to us. Rather, we will be defined by the values we carry forward. We are grateful for this community, for our partners in law enforcement and in our community, for every voice that has spoken out, and we ask that those voices do not fall silent.
My name's Stephen Ingber. I'm the CEO of Jewish Federation of Detroit. I have two things to say. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you to all the law enforcement officers, too numerous to name, who are willing to give their lives for our children. And the other thing is, I want to say, we need your help. We can't continue at this pace. We can't continue having Jewish houses of worship desecrated. We can't continue to have the anti-Semitism rise to the level it's rising. And we, as Jews, as 2% of the population, can't stop it ourselves. We need each and every one of you to do your part. You all have a role in this. If you don't all stand up, this will only continue to get worse. Call out anti-Semitism where you see it, when you see it. There's no small joke. There's no small, oh, that was just something for one person. This is plain and clear hatred against Jews. It must stop. And you all must be a part of it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Mustafa Al-Turk. I'm the Imam and President of the Islamic Organization of North America and also co-chair of the Imams Council of Michigan. On that devastating day when Temple of Israel was attacked, I got a call from one of our congregants early in the morning when that happened, and I immediately contacted my co-chair in the Imams Council and other imams to prepare a statement condemning such an act. I will share just one passage from that. Imams Council of Michigan condemns shooting at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield. Islam teaches that all places where God's name is remembered deserve protection. The Quran reminds us, had God not repelled some people by means of others, monasteries, churches, synagogues, and mosques where God's name is mentioned much would surely have been destroyed. Quran 22:40. Regardless of what happened, we stand, the Imams Council of Michigan, in full solidarity with all people impacted by the event, today's event then. In times like these, our shared commitment to peace, compassion, and mutual protection must prevail over hatred and violence. And my statement today on this occasion, first and foremost, we thank Sheriff Bouchard and his team for protecting our communities and to continue doing what is necessary to keep us safe. In today's political climate, we are witnessing a disturbing surge in hate speech and hate crimes around the world. From anti-Semitic attacks to Islamophobic rhetoric, the forces of division are growing louder and more dangerous by the day. Yes, as people of conscience, we must not lose hope or surrender to despair. Now more than ever, we are called to remain focused on unity, not division, on love, not hate. We must be the light that pushes back against the darkness. This means standing in active solidarity with all marginalized communities. It means speaking out when we witness bigotry, whether against our Jewish neighbors, our Muslim brothers and sisters, or any group targeted simply for who they are. In a world that often tries to divide us, let us be a force of unity. Let us challenge anti-Semitism, confront Islamophobia, and replace fear with understanding. We are called to support one another, to build bridges of understanding, and to live together in peace and harmony. Our diversity is not a threat, it is a strength. Our shared humanity is greater than any force that seeks to tear us apart. Silence in the face of anti-Semitism or Islamophobia is complicity. We must speak out whenever and wherever we see hate. Whether it's in a synagogue or a mosque under threat, we show up for each other. Solidarity is our greatest weapon. Thank you.
My name is Bill Danaher. I'm the rector of Christ Church Cranbrook, right down the road from Temple Israel. I am grateful today for the wonderful law enforcement that has been done in the leadership of Sheriff Bouchard. I'm deeply grateful for my brothers and sisters in the Jewish community. We are here to stand with them and to support them with love and fidelity for all that they are and all who they are. I am going to invite Christians as we move into Holy Week and Easter to engage in a self-audit of our scriptures, of our passages that we rely on to tell the story of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection, of the practices that we've put in place for generations, to do an audit to make sure that we can cleanse the Christian tradition from anti-Semitism. It has constantly been noted by many scholars over the centuries that there is a subterranean river of interpretation within the Christian faith that runs in an anti-Semitic direction. And as we celebrate the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, I want to invite Christians everywhere to engage in that careful audit of our basic beliefs, These beliefs, when they are rightly interpreted, see the world as a place where God is redeeming all things, sees the world as broken and beautiful as it is, as a place of hope and faith and love, sees each person as made in the image of God. I invite Christians everywhere to engage in that careful self-audit so that we can stand and interrogate our own beliefs so that we can stand against this rising tide of anti-Semitism.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg Geiger, and I'm the president of the Interfaith Leadership Council of Metropolitan Detroit. And just a few brief comments. We certainly endorse those things that have been said here today. I want to openly acknowledge and express appreciation for the tremendous support the Jewish community has given to the interfaith efforts of our overall community for many, many years. And without their support, we would not be here today as the Interfaith Leadership Council. And we're pleased to be here in behalf of their needs and support at this point. I want to also let you know that they have been particularly helpful when other communities have been attacked, including when my own community was attacked a few months ago. They have been very solicitous and supportive, and I call all the communities who are here gathered and represented to continue to show that same response as they have shown to others, and we're grateful to them for that. The Interfaith Leadership Council stands for bringing together people of common values, to understand those, to look beyond the differences in language, heritage, beliefs, to see the underlying values that actually connect us together as human beings. And we have ways of helping people to see that if they will come and work together with us, because it is seeing each other as individuals, as human beings, however you couch it, as brothers and sisters, however we think of the relationship that bears us together. Those are the things that connect us as individuals. And anti-Semitism flies defiantly in the face of the realities of who we are as people, as brothers, as sisters, as sons and daughters, as members of this community. And so we encourage all, as they have been, and those who may wish to be involved in this, to join with all of these here and with us to help that make that a reality. Thank you.
Questions?
Yes. How are the repairs going at Temple Israel? Is there an update on that? And how is the security guard doing?
Thankfully, all of our security guards are doing well. Danny himself is recuperating at home, and he will make a full recovery. Our building is currently under a restoration phase, and we are actively 24 hours a day doing the initial stages of restoration, and then we'll move to a rebuilding process. There's a lot of work to be done. As you probably know from the videos that were released, the sprinkler system after the initial event went off and was running for hours, so we have an enormous amount of water damage, smoke damage, but we are actively pursuing that work right now.
For you, how are you bringing comfort to parents? I know you said you guys will return and not let this stop you from just moving forward. How are you guys bringing comfort to the parents?
First of all, we are so lucky. We have had an outpouring of offers from mental health counselors, mental health organizations around the world who are reaching out to us, and we are currently developing a plan for the long-term future, which is going to take care of our families, our students, all of our staff. In the immediate aftermath of the events last Thursday, we have established a robust program of mental health. Actually, right now, my team is actually with a mental health provider offering care at every level, from our staff to our parents to our families around the community, and we're going to continue to offer an ongoing mental health routine so that all of us can return to a sense of normal, a new normal.
What is the best way the community can help support you guys?
Our website, www.temple-israel.org. We'll soon have a volunteer program offering, so anybody looking to help out in future offerings to our community can go there. We also are beginning in the initial fundraising campaign for a rebuilding process, and if anybody just wants to reach out to our team, you can call us. Our number is still operational. Our address is still operational, so people can reach out to our team. And Cassie Cohn is our Director of Development. She'll lead you to both volunteer opportunities and fundraising.
This would be for either Sheriff Bouchard or whoever else wants to answer, but I know the Jewish Federation and some other members of the community were in D.C. earlier this week advocating for more funding for security for all houses of worship or nonprofits. Have you had any conversations with any lawmakers about that, and what would you support when it comes to that?
100%. I've, as you know, I've been head of government affairs for Major County Sheriffs of America for many, many years, and I've already been communicating with a number of lawmakers about, you know, things that we think would be important to think of going forward, funding, and also equipment. You know, every time we see something happen anywhere in the world, it informs us on maybe training gaps or equipmental gaps. We had those. We had a gap, air apparatus. You know, we obviously sent over 60 police officers to the hospital with smoke inhalation. This is the second house of worship that's been attacked by fire. That's not lost on us. We can't wait for that fire to go out. We can't wait for fire to go in because they can't go in while it's still an active threat. So we have to be able to go in without having to come back out for a gasp of breath and then go back in. So, you know, we're seeking some Scott Air Packs, so we plan to deploy them in a variety of our equipment and vehicles so we can quickly hand them out. Some of the officers did borrow them. In that one video that did get released, you saw what looked like firefighter coats and Scott Air Packs. Those were police officers. They got it from their brothers and sisters in the fire service that gave it to them to go into the building. But we don't want to take it from them because they may need it after, you know, we go from hot to warm zone. So that's just one example. There's other things that, you know, we've been communicating with. I've actually reached out with my government affairs staff and asked to have a Zoom call in the very near future with our 2 U.S. senators, Peters and Slotkin, and also with Representative McClain, one of the House leaders, so that we get Republican and Democrats on the same phone call and maybe get some support for some immediate equipment. There was some equipment that we could have used there. We know that Haley Stevens has put in a request to get a mobile command center. We thankfully, the Chaldean community jumped in, threw open their facility at Shenandoah. They did an amazing, you know, not just open their hearts, but their buildings. But, you know, that again showed us that we didn't have a mobile command scene on site that could handle all of us having those immediate needs communicating together in a facility built for that has both cellular and satellite that can get downlinks and all those kinds of things. Our mobile command is 26 years old. So, you know, we found ourselves in the parking lot in Troy when they had an active shooter threat, standing in the parking lot trying to, you know, come up with immediate action. So there's equipmental needs that need to be met, and we will partner with not only the Jewish community but all communities to make sure that we are better prepared. Every time we face something, we figure out what did we do right, what do we need to do better. And just like a football team, you know, you can always do better. And that's our hope with both training and equipment and deeper partnerships that we get there. And the unique thing about Oakland County is in this very room, I called all the chiefs together after an attack in Mumbai and said we need to train together and have more equipment together. And we did that in this room and created an organization called OCTAC that regularly trains all of the police officers, and now we brought in our fire service partners so that we can do that training. That's unique to this county. As I said, you know, I've been president of Major County Sheriffs of America. We have a deeper relationship and partnership with state, local, and federal than, you know, I've seen almost anywhere. And that's going to continue. Long answer to your question, but I think it's multi-layered. When you have an event, you have to analyze it.
Mel Brewer with the Jewish News. I have a question about some practical suggestions for saying something. I was on a neighborhood forum next door and people were talking about it, and one of the comments was the cops must really love Israel because they sent so many people there, and somebody quoted how many officers were sent to Oxford. It was almost the same, but how, I mean, that's just one, insidious example of it, but how, because I know people are afraid to stand up because some of these people are dangerous, obviously, So can you give some practical suggestions for what the community can do when they read things like this, hear statements?
When they read things like that, it's hard, but keep going. Don't read comments. People get in their basement, they get empowered, they're trolls. They say terrible things because that's the state of our world today. Social media is terrible. You know, when you have people empowered to say things about situations they know nothing about, we didn't know how many assailants we were. We didn't know if there's secondary threats that were going to happen at that facility. We had no scope or scale of what we were going to be facing collectively. When everybody showed up at Oxford, which also was here, I was super glad that everybody came. I'd rather be saying, okay, we're all set, you can go back to what you were doing, than say, we still need help and we can't do what we need to do. I mean, which would you rather have as a community? Us to be over-prepared or under-prepared? If it's your house and your kids are trapped in that and somebody wants to kill them, would you rather have us send too many or too little? Simple answer, but don't engage as a person with them, because you can't engage stupid.
So if, say you're in person in a group and somebody says something like that, what? I mean, if we all are supposed to stand up, what?
Well, the answer is, would you rather have an over-response or under-response? Would you rather see people die because they don't have enough resources on scene and wait for others to get there? Or would you rather have them get there and say, we got enough, and send them back? I mean, it's a simple thing. And the same person is probably buying way too much homeowners or renters insurance and car insurance, not anticipating that their house is going to burn down, but they're prepared for it. So we need to be prepared for whatever we may face. And sometimes we don't know what that will be. We try to look around the corner and see what the threat may do or how it may adapt, and we have to adapt and evolve to be able to meet it. After the Virginia Tech shooting, I ordered bolt cutters put in our cars because that attacker had chain doors. So we try to look around the corner and we try to come prepared with as much and more than we need. We can always scale back. And if people don't like feeling that safety net, they can move to a less safe county.
Okay, one other question. I read from the ADL that more than half of the anti-Semitic, assaults, threats, whatever, had to do with Israel. So I don't know if maybe Bennett can speak to that, but.
Well, I guess in a general sense, there's no justification for trying to kill kids. So I don't know, whether you blame it on something that's going on someplace in the world or not. I'm sorry. No, that's not acceptable. You don't go into somebody's house, or in this case a house of worship, and try to kill kids from 0 to 5 because something happened in another part of the world. You can't justify that crap to me, period. Sorry. But, amen. Yeah. Yes.
Sheriff, the Director of National Intelligence yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard, testified to the Senate that a family member of the Temple Israel attacker was a Hezbollah leader. Are you able to confirm that? That was the first time the federal official had said openly on the record that there was a tie to a Hezbollah leader. Are you able to confirm that?
Well, we had a lot of that information on the day that this was happening, but obviously, the federal officials are making the confirmation of some of the specificity as it relates to the individual or their family. So I don't really want to step on their toes on that, but obviously a lot of that's out there and pretty obvious.
Quick follow-up. Fox News had...
And I would also say on that point, just so you know, the ambassador from Lebanon sent me a communication immediately deploring this attack. Period. Hard stop.
The second question, Fox News had released a photo of the suspect. It showed him with a long rifle, and he said that rifle was used in the attack, and that he also had text about martyrdom. Are you able to confirm that photo that was the same guy?
Yeah, again, when we get into the evidentiary thing, we're going to leave that to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney because they have again, very specific definitional boxes they check to whether there's a hate crime, whether it's terrorism, related to, was it motivated from abroad, whether they're communicate, all these kinds of things that they do. I think it was pretty obvious, but we'll leave the confirmation of some of that stuff to them because currently this case resides in their purview.
Just one week after this, how do people, both the Jewish and Islamic faith, especially those who consider each other neighbors, come together and have these conversations with each other to try to start healing?
Well, I think, everybody has to have that conversation. You can't hate in the name of God, and you can't kill in the name of God, regardless of your faith. And that's happened throughout history with all faiths, but that doesn't work. That's not the way God works. So any hateful, violent act is a perversion of a religion that perpetrates that in the name of their God, because God would not want to be murdering children. Sorry.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
All right, so that press conference just wrapped up with law enforcement officials, faith leaders there in Oakland County, Michigan, giving an update on that attack on a temple recently. Let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We want to send you now to our nation's capital in Capitol Hill, where Senator Mike Lee and other GOP leaders holding a press conference there to talk about the Save America Act, which is a sweeping election overhaul that would introduce new proof of citizenship requirements to register to vote among its provisions. Let's take a listen in to what he's saying.
The talking filibuster or is another way like that. But this is important. This is important to secure elections. Trump secured our border. He needs us to secure elections. The American public wants us to secure elections. I don't think there's anything I've done up here. Maybe as governor, there's something like daylight savings time, but up here that is more popular than getting this bill passed. So I hope we'll be able to get this done. So now let me turn it over to my colleague from Oklahoma, James Langford.
Mr. Scott, thanks. This is not challenging because it's every single time we voted, every single election in Oklahoma. It's funny to me the number of people that come and say, how would this ever work? And I just smile and go, well, we figured it out. Everybody else knows how to be able to do this. In every election in Oklahoma, every single person who votes has to show ID. And I mean every single person who votes. In person or by mail. Our mail-in votes in Oklahoma are done when they actually show up at a spot to be able to mail in and get a notary to be able to look at their ID, to be able to take the envelope that's about to be matched, to match the name that's on the envelope and the name of the ID, and then it actually is notarized and then goes in the mail. Every person who votes in Oklahoma, whether by mail or in person, has to show ID. And you know what? We have a lot of people that show up to vote. This is not challenging here. And it's the most simple, basic thing that we actually deal with when we talk about the Save America Act. This basic principle that citizens vote and you have to show ID. You can't just walk up and say, my name is John Smith and I should be on that list somewhere, check off that's me. You have to actually verify that that's actually you at that point. So we know one vote for one person, and that's all they get. It's also interesting to me when I think about this most basic element, that is, you have to be a citizen to vote. And I have some of my colleagues that will go back to the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And I go, do you realize the 1965 Voting Rights Act begins with the phrase, all citizens? That's how it starts. All citizens. This is the most basic principle of that bill, began with the simple statement of all citizens. This is a simple trust and verify piece that we're trying to be able to put into place. To say, we've already agreed that this should only be for citizens. We've already agreed that there should be consequences if you're not a citizen, but we're just not verifying it and checking it. Again, I have folks that have caught me and have said, well, this is just a non-issue. Non-citizens just don't vote. In Oklahoma, several years ago, we actually passed a law, a state law in Oklahoma, that was pretty simple and straightforward. The state law was, if someone comes into jury duty and says before a judge, I'm not eligible to serve in jury duty, though I've been called, I'm not eligible to be able to serve because I'm not a citizen. If they say that, then by state law now, we have to check the voter roll to see if they're also registered to vote. If they are, and we have found folks that are, their name is automatically dropped from the voter roll. It's the way that we're doing it in Oklahoma, to be able to find ways to say if there's someone who is not a citizen of the United States and is in violation of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, that we are making sure their name is being purged off the voter roll, so it is only citizens of the United States that are actually voting in our elections. You know what? We still have elections. We still vote. Somehow we as Oklahomans have figured it out. So we say to the rest of the country, we do ID all the time. We check citizenship all the time on it. This is a common sense provision that we want to be able to bring to the nation that is already statutory. Let's actually just have implementing legislation with it. So I want to be able to recognize my colleague from Ohio, John, to be able to come on up. Come on, John.
Thank you, James. I'm John Husted, Senator from Ohio. But for the purposes of this discussion, I was the Secretary of State of Ohio from 2011 to 2019. I was Ohio's chief elections official. I'm one of the few people in Congress that's actually ever been in charge of an election. And we made it easy to vote and hard to cheat in Ohio. And many of my fellow colleagues from around the country did that. And one of the ways that they did that was photo ID. And another way they did that was properly maintaining voter rolls. Photo ID should be the national standard. Photo ID is popular among the American people. It improves the integrity of an election. It also improves the administration of an election. I want you to understand from a practical point of view how much easier it makes it on elections officials to have a photo ID law. Because simply all you need to do on election day is when you go up to the poll worker, who may be one of your elderly neighbors, maybe a young person, all they need to do is simply take your photo ID, run the magnetic strip through the reader, and boom, there you are. There's your picture, there's your information. It tells them what ballot to give you. It is also an improvement on election administration. And that's another reason that having photo ID and the system that we have in Ohio and many other states have is important. The Save America Act is a very important piece of legislation, but it has several parts to it. And I've heard the Democrats object to it, but I've also read quotes recently from several, and I'll want to make sure that I get this right, that in looking at the matter of photo ID, Chuck Schumer said, our objection as Democrats is not to photo ID, is not to a photo ID.
Great.
That's what he said. So I'm going to give him a chance this afternoon to prove that, as I will offer up a live UC that will have photo ID available for to set the national standard of the country that would allow people to vote with a driver's license, with a state ID, with a passport, with a military ID or a tribal ID. These are the simple photo ID methods that are available to every American citizen. In Ohio, for example, if you do not have a state ID, we will give you one for free. And every state in the nation can run an election that way. It will improve integrity. It will improve the administration of elections. And for America, for the American people, it will help us settle this business once and for all about whether or not our elections have integrity. Once we have photo ID, once we have proof of citizenship, American citizens can have more trust in their elections, and that they can know that it is indeed a nation where it is easy to vote and hard to cheat. Senator Britt?
Sure. Well, these gentlemen have covered much of what we need to talk about today, but I want to start by thanking Senator Lee. So Senator Lee got in there on this issue, and he has made sure that people paid attention. This isn't a Republican issue. This is an American issue. When you look at the polling, it is wildly popular amongst Republicans, amongst independents, and amongst Democrats. When you see something like that, I think it's incumbent upon us to actually do something on something like that. And that's exactly what Senator Lee has done with the Save America Act. And today we talk about the heart of that. I appreciate Senator Husted and his work as Secretary of State. He knows this issue front and back. He talked about it, but we want to make sure that Americans have faith in their elections. We want to make sure that they are free, fair, and secure. If Americans don't have faith, it undermines the very pillars that hold up our democracy. And we know the best way to do that is to require ID. We do it in the great state of Alabama. And we also say, hey, if for some reason you can't come to us, we'll come to you. We're going to make sure that you have one, because we also understand that it is fundamental to actually achieving the American dream. So for many of my colleagues, they have said that this is unattainable for certain segments of the population or certain people. I find that wildly offensive. And I am here today to say that if that is your argument, let's drill down on that. Because you can't rent a home, you can't go to work, you can't shovel snow in New York City without an ID, and you can't get into John Ossoff's campaign event. So I'm pretty sure as we look to try to achieve the American dream, whether that's getting insurance, whether that's getting a car, whether that's signing your kid up for school, you need an ID. So if my colleagues continue to say that there are certain segments of the population that can't get one, why don't we deal with that? Because I want every American, regardless of their zip code, regardless of their background, regardless of their state, to be able to achieve the American dream. And without simple identification, they can't do that. But let's secure our elections. Let's do it now. When you go pick up your ballot, it'll still be there if you have to show your ID before you get it. And I am excited to hear so many of my Democratic colleagues come to the table and say they're for this too. I look forward to watching them follow through with that on the Senate floor. This is the same party that you remember made us have vaccine passports to go out to eat during COVID, and has done so much more infringing on our individual rights. I certainly look forward to them helping to protect one of the most important ones, and that's the right to vote. So thank you for your leadership on this, Senator Lee. I say let's get this done. We're certainly not going to quit until we do.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being here. All right, I think we've got 10 or 15 minutes. Let's get through questions. Yeah.
There'll probably be a Democrat coming to the floor from the bright blue state to object to John Houston's UC request. Are you going to seek a roll call vote on this photo ID provision as an amendment to the bill to put every Democrat on record, or more specifically, this weekend votes on Saturday and Sunday? What amendments do you think you'll be voting on?
Well, my personal overall emphasis is going to continue to be on the bill in particular, but I intend to be there when Senator Husted offers up his amendment and be there to speak in support of it in the event that I've got something there to offer, because I think that too is very much worth supporting. As far as what else might happen, I'm not sure, and I'll leave others to speak to that. If your question is whether Senator Husted is seeking also a roll call vote on it, I don't know, and I want to speak for him. But do you want to weigh in on that?
We'll see what happens on the floor.
Given how many Senate Democrats yesterday indicated openness to the voter ID provisions, it'll be interesting to see who, if anyone, steps up to object to that. Yep.
You said, or I think wrote on Twitter a few days ago, that Republicans will lose power likely for a long time if Save America does not pass. Can you expand on that? How do you expect that to work?
Look, obviously nobody can know the outcome of an election. A lot of ink has been spilled in explaining how very often in this kind of framework, the presidential administration comes in and you've got majorities in both houses of Congress aligned with the president's party. There are sometimes difficulties holding on to both houses, in some cases either chamber, following that alignment. And so a lot of people point that out. When you add to that the amount of support for this legislation within our base, but also within the base of the other party, if we don't get it done, or at least do everything that we possibly can to try to get it passed, I think there's a very significant risk that our own base doesn't show up for us in November. We worry about that. We also worry about the integrity and the security of our elections. Nobody knows exactly how things will pan out, in part because we don't yet know the extent of the problem. What we do know is that in the states that have started reviewing the voter registration files in order to weed out those who might have registered, perhaps inadvertently, perhaps intentionally, already there have been thousands of voter registration files identified just in the handful of states that have been doing their own review. The states that have not been doing their own review would yield really significant results if those reviews began. But a lot of those same states that are run by Democrats are not only not doing their own review, they're refusing even to share their voter registration files with federal officials in an attempt to try to go through it. It begs the question, why? When you add to that this additional dynamic of the handful of states in which some local elections openly allow non-citizens to vote, and the fact that they have also been unwilling to share that, and they've also been unwilling to explain how, whether, to what extent, in what ways, they separated out those voter registration files who are non-citizens, who are allowed to vote there, and how it is that they make sure that they're not voting in federal elections. All those things could contribute. We have to assume that they might well contribute to Republican losses in November. Yep.
Senator Lee, there's a provision in the bill that asks states to make photocopiers or imaging equipment available in public buildings. Could you describe the reason for that, and do you want to change at all what how they worded that in the House passed bill?
If there's a need, if there's something that could help us get it passed easier, if there's a hurdle that needs to be overcome, I'm open to all kinds of suggestions, particularly on that. I mean, changing that is not an essential characteristic of the bill, nor would it, I can't imagine that making some minor tweaks to that, how that works. I don't think it would do anything to make it unpassable in the House. So I'm open to considering whatever.
I mean, they have, that's in the House passed version. Would you want to change it? Is there a different?
We're on the House. No, we're on the House passed version. I have not looked at that and found that deficient. But what I'm saying is if somebody identifies something that could or should be added to it that would help us get more votes, I'm open.
Do you like that provision yourself? You think it's good?
Well, I think it's one of many provisions in there that is designed to make the impact on the voter and or on the participating jurisdictions easier.
No
Yes, ma'am.
Democrat I know of has complained about it.
Yeah, I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Senator, given that Schumer said that Democrats aren't necessarily opposed to photo ID, would you be in favor of trimming down the Save America Act to only focus on photo ID? And have you received any indication that the White House would be in favor of that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. First of all, because of Senator Husted and his great idea on this, they'll have their chance this afternoon to state their position on that. State their position on whether to support that and what they would do with the rest of it. If your question to me is, would I walk away from the rest of the bill and say, oh, okay, well, we got this, so never mind? No. No, we're going to continue to push the rest of the legislation. If we can get that passed separately, fantastic, and we'll focus on the rest of the provisions. The two things are necessary for different reasons. And there again, if somebody comes up with a good faith, productive suggestion about how we could make those provisions better, I'm all ears. I'm open to suggestions. But the freestanding independent concerns would remain. It would be fantastic if we get this win. They shouldn't object. They should allow this to become law, and I think the country would be better off for it, and then we could move on to the other items. But I'm not going to walk away from the rest of it, because remember, the whole reason we're here, what started the original SAVE Act was this realization of a confluence of events and changes in law and the interpretation of law over the last 33 years since NVRA was passed that have resulted in 30 million plus non-citizens in the United States, 10 to 15 million of whom came into this country unlawfully between 2021 and 2025 alone. And then the Supreme Court's ruling in Arizona versus Intertribal Council of Arizona, where they said that if you are dealing with an NVRA-supplied voter registration form available in DMVs of almost every state, even if you know somebody is a...
Hello, everyone. Taking over for Nick Sturdivant. We are awaiting, and I do believe we have, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu holding a news conference updating us and things. Of course, the Israeli strike on the gas field just last night in Iran. Let's listen in.
יגדע את ידו. העוצמה שלנו, האומץ שלנו, הרוח שלנו, אלה תמיד היו המפתח להבטחת עתידנו. כדברי יהושע בן נון לבני ישראל, אל תראו ואל תחתו, חזקו ואמצו, כי ככה יעשה אדוני לכל אויביכם. אתם אזרחי ישראל שואלים, כמה זמן זה ייקח? ואני אומר, זה ייקח ככל הנדרש. אני מבקש מכם רק דבר אחד, המשיכו לזקוף קומה, המשיכו לעמוד איתן.
Now the Prime Minister will be speaking in English.
Welcome to the foreign press. First of all, I just want to say, I'm alive, and you're all witnesses. And now that I dispatched this piece of fake news, I want to give you an update on Operation Roaring Lion. Under President Trump's visionary leadership, America and Israel are acting together in Iran with great determination and unprecedented strength. Operation Rising Lion is designed to remove the existential threats posed by the Ayatollah regime, the regime that has waged war against America and Israel and the people of Iran for 47 years. It chants death to America, death to Israel, and it delivers death to its own people. Our goals are three. One, removing the nuclear threat. Second, removing the ballistic missile threat, and removing both of these threats before they're buried deep underground and become immune from aerial attack. And third, this means creating the conditions for the Iranian people to grasp their freedom, to control their destiny. Today, the Ayatollah regime is not only attacking America, not only attacking Israel, not only attacking the Iranian people, it is attacking the entire Middle East and beyond. They've attacked civilians and American assets in Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, and they've even attacked through their proxies Cyprus and Europe. We've warned for decades that their ballistic missile program would be used to attack these targets far and wide, and if they're not stopped, that's just the beginning. The death cult in Iran is trying to blackmail the world by closing a key international maritime route, the Straits of Hormuz. It won't work. Israel is helping in its own way, and intel and other means, the American effort to open the Straits of Hormuz, rather. But I want to ask you to imagine how the Ayatollah regime would be able to blackmail the entire world if they had ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads. Just imagine what they would do. Look at what they're doing now and imagine what they would do if they had ballistic missiles, international range ballistic missiles, and nuclear-tipped warheads. Just imagine what a great threat that would be. So today, Israel and the United States are protecting America, Israel, the entire Middle East, but I venture to say the entire world. Despite the fake news that is unfortunately being spread since the start of the war 20 days ago, we are winning and Iran is being decimated. Iran's missile and drone arsenal is being massively degraded and will be destroyed. Hundreds of their launchers have been destroyed, their stockpiles of missiles are being hit hard, and so are the industries that produce them. That's important. In Rising Line, we destroyed missiles and we destroyed a lot of the nuclear infrastructure. But what we're destroying now are the factories that produce the components to make these missiles and to make the nuclear weapons that they're trying to produce. We're wiping out their industrial base in a way that we didn't do before. Iran's air defenses have been rendered useless. Their navy is lying at the bottom of the sea. Today we hit the other part of their navy in the Caspian Sea. Their air force is nearly destroyed. Iran's command and control structure is in utter chaos. And I can tell you that there's still more work to do, and we're going to do it. And I want to close these opening remarks with one other fake news, and that is that Israel somehow dragged the U.S. into a conflict with Iran. Does anyone really think that someone can tell President Trump what to do? Come on. President Trump always makes his decisions on what he thinks is good for America, and may I add, I think what is also good for future generations. In this case, those interests are absolutely clear, and so is the clarity of our achievements. Together in close coordination with President Trump, the close coordination between America and Israel, our militaries, our intelligence services, we're achieving goals in lightning speed. But I want to say another word. It's been said that for 40 years, I've been saying that Iran is a danger to Israel and a danger to the world. That is true. You know who else said that? President Trump. 47 years ago, when the Iranian thugs took over the American embassy, he said how dangerous this regime is. In his first term in office, he didn't need any convincing. He said the Iranian nuclear deal was the worst deal that he'd ever seen, and he walked out of it. Right before his second term, before he was reelected, I went to see him in Mar-a-Lago. The first thing he said to me was, "Bibi, we've got to make sure that Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons." He said that to me. I didn't say it to him. He didn't need any convincing there either. Now, why did he say that? Because for more than 4 decades, this regime, as I said in the beginning of my remarks, is chanting, "Death to Israel, death to America." But they say Israel is only the small Satan standing in their way. The great Satan is the United States of America. And these ideological fanatics, these lunatics, define their raison d'etre, their reason for being, as wiping out Western civilization and America that leads it. They have claimed the lives, they've maimed and wounded thousands of Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan. They killed the American Marines in Beirut. They bombed your embassies. They tried to assassinate the American president, Donald Trump, not once, but twice. Now they blackmail for oil. Just imagine what they would do, what they're capable of doing, if these lunatics had nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to every American city and every European city and everywhere around the globe. This is a danger for the entire world. It's certainly a danger for Israel. It's certainly a danger for America. We see eye to eye on that. President Trump and I, Israel and America. But I think if people are honest, if leaders are honest, they would understand that we're not only fighting our fight, we're fighting their fight. I speak to dozens of world leaders. Dozens. They all know that. And privately, they all say that. They say that privately, but I say it publicly. The world owes a debt of deep indebtedness to President Trump for leading this effort to safeguard our future.
Thank
Questions?
you. We'll now take a few questions. The first question is from Zach Anders from Newsmax.
Mr. Prime Minister, Zach Anders, Newsmax.
Want a transitional leader that will have a transition. You don't want to replace one Ayatollah with another. You don't want to replace Hitler with Himmler. So I think the question is, will the conditions be created for such a change? I think it's too early to say. And I think in the final account, as I said, it's up to the Iranian people to show that, to choose the moment and to rise to the moment. We can create the conditions, but they have to, they have to exploit those conditions at a certain point. It is often said that you can't do revolutions from the air. That is true. You can't do it only from the air. You can do a lot of things from the air, and we're doing, but there has to be a ground component as well. There are many possibilities for this ground component, and I take the liberty of not sharing with you all those possibilities.
Would you recognize Pahlavi if the people keep chanting for him in the streets?
Well, I'm not going to say who specifically is going to be there, but I think he's been a force for good. He's been trying to get the people to unite for a transitional government, a democratic transitional government, or a moderate transitional government. I hope that it comes to being. I think it's too early to say.
Next question from Richard Engel from NBC News.
Good to see you again, Mr. President.
Well, I think we have concrete goals, how to do it, and that we want to, as I said, decimate the ballistic missile program, which we're doing, decimate the nuclear program, which we're doing. I think that those are goals that are achievable, but I'm not going to put a schedule or a stopwatch on it. I think we have goals that have to be achieved, and we're not counting the days. But I will say this canard that we drag the United States into it is not just a canard, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, I think President Trump said it best, and I said it as well many times. There's always a danger in acting. But in conditions of existential threats, there's a much greater danger in not acting. What do you think would have happened if America did not act now? Just imagine what would have happened. In a few months' time, no more than a year, Khamenei, still alive, would have ordered the beginnings of the new nuclear program and the reconstructed ballistic missile program to move underground. Now, it'll take them a little time, maybe a few years, But you can't reach those programs. And they develop intercontinental ballistic missiles, okay? That means missiles that can hit Chicago and New York and Florida and Texas and California. Oh, but they don't have it yet. That's what people said. Right, let's wait. Well, just let them do it, you know. Just wait and let them do it. You won't be able to do it. It's the last moment. No, it takes a little time. I mean, you had a few months to prevent them from doing it and to just decimate these industries and perhaps achieve this transitional government in Iran. So you sit back and you say, well, it's not going to happen in the next Thursday, so let's not act. I tell you that there's enormous risk in not acting, much greater risk than acting. And if you think that the oil markets are in trouble today, think of Iran with nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them. And then think of the blackmail that you would endure.
I didn't exactly ask, however.
Okay, we're going to go to the next question.
No, I think it's only fair that this is a serious subject.
What is the question?
There's one question for,
yeah, go ahead.
We don't have a lot of time.
That's,
Why don't this is the world?
Go ahead, ask.
Of course, but you have there are oil fields around the world that are burning. Gas prices are going up. The war is popular here in Israel. Is not popular with many Americans. My question was, how do you see this ending? Not why, not even when. What do you imagine the day after?
Well, we have achievable goals, and I'm not going to speak about the full battle plans that we have with the United States. We're well coordinated with them. I will say this, that once we achieve our goals, then I have argued, I think, and Americans understand this very well, because we're real partners. I think that what has to be done is to have alternative routes. Instead of going through the choke points of the Hormuz Straits and the Bab el-Mandeb Straits, in order to have the flow of oil, just have oil pipelines, gas pipelines, going west through the Arabian Peninsula, right up to Israel, right up to our Mediterranean ports, and you've just done away with the choke points for forever. That is definitely possible. So I see that as a real change that will follow this this war. But I also see this war ending a lot faster than people think. I think you have to, in war, you have to grit your teeth. Churchill said that democracies suffer from the slumber of democracies, as he called it. And they only wake up, he said, they may wake up only when they hear the gong, the jarring gong of danger, is the way he put it. Well, you're hearing the jarring gong of danger. The jarring gong of danger is Iran gets nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. That's not a jarring gong. That is an apocalypse. Don't let it happen. And the function of leaders is to stand and tell people the truth, even when things are uncomfortable. That's what you have to do. And you don't always see the danger in time. But leaders are tasked with the task of seeing danger in time and acting on it. And I hope that in time, people will see the wisdom and the courage of President Trump's decision and his leadership, and the fact that we're working together. America is not fighting for Israel. America is fighting with Israel for a common goal, to protect our future, to protect civilization against these barbarians.
Next question, one question, Guy Azriel from I-24 News.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Guy Azriel, I-24 News. President Trump said today he did not like the Israeli strike on the Iranian gas fields. My question to you, was the president aware of Israel striking that gas field? Did you approve it? And please, if you may, do you see any signs that the Iranian regime is collapsing? And what assurances do you give the Israeli public that if it does stand on its feet, we will not see another wave of a war with Iran in maybe 5 or 10 years?
Well, I'll say two things. Fact number one, Israel acted alone against the Slawiya gas compound. Fact number two, President Trump asked us to hold off on future attacks, and we're holding out. What do we see? What happens if are there any signs that the Iranian regime is cracking? A lot of signs. A lot of signs. I wish I could divulge all of them. But I see that. But will I tell you, will I commit right now that it's going to collapse? I can tell you that we're working to create the conditions for it to collapse. But it may survive, it may not. If it survives, it'll be a lot weaker. There's no comparison. It'll be at its weakest point, shorn of industries that it built over decades, death industries, shorn of many other capabilities that they have, and equipped with the experience, with the knowledge that if they try it again, they'll be hit again even harder. I cannot tell you of the technological developments that we are engaged in to anticipate this and other possibilities. But Israel has shown that it can do wondrous things. And in partnership with our American allies, we can do amazing things. Amazing things. As Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, said, these are the two most amazing air forces in the world. It's the two most amazing intelligence services in the world. It has the capabilities to confront these barbarians and to outstrip them, both in innovation and, when necessary, in lethality. It's directed, it's targeted lethality. It's going against the killers and as much as possible to avoid civilian casualties. We have those capacities. We're building them for the future. That is what safeguards the future. You know, if people want to be naive, that they don't see the kind of world we're living in. In this world, it's not enough to be moral. It's not enough to be just. It's not enough to be right, you know? One of the greatest writers of the 20th century, someone that I admire a lot, was the historian Will Durant. Now, he wrote many volumes. I read most of them. He also wrote The Lessons of History, very brief, 100-page book, in which he said, well, history proves that, unfortunately and unhappily, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan. Because if you are strong enough, ruthless enough, powerful enough, evil will overcome good. Aggression will overcome moderation. So you have no choice. If you look at the world as it is today, you have to be blind not to see that the democracies led by the United States have to reassert their will to defend themselves and to oppose their enemies in time while there's still time, before the jarring gong of danger wakes them up and wakes them up too late. This is where we are now. The fact that people don't see that, the fact that a lot of the news media are harking on a lot of fake news, but also a lot of short-sightedness, and do not see the historic period and the historic struggle that we are engaged in now, doesn't obviate these truths. We have to be strong. We have to be armed. We have to be more powerful than the barbarians, or they will not be merely at the gate. They'll crash our gates and destroy our societies. That's what Israel is doing now with the United States. And I'm very proud of the fact that the Israeli people are standing strong, that the Israeli army is standing strong. We rose from October 7th. Our people, our soldiers rose like lions. But in protecting ourselves and in joining with our great American friends, we're also protecting the entire world.
Thank you. Next question, Tom Burridge from ABC News.
Sure. Hi, Tom Sufi Burridge, ABC News. Prime Minister, given the escalation of attacks on U.S. allies across the Gulf, given the spiraling energy costs, the high costs in general, the U.S. service personnel killed in this war, many Americans are asking that question, whether you misled their government into starting this war, and for how long should Americans keep paying the price?
Well, I misled no one, and I didn't have to convince President Trump about the need to prevent Iran from developing its nuclear program, putting it underground, and being able to launch nuclear-tipped missiles at the United States. He understood that. He explained it to me. I didn't explain it to him. And I think that our partnership is the only way to avoid this catastrophic development. The loss of servicemen is painful. Early on in my military service, a fellow soldier died in my arms. I lost a brother who fought terrorists, led the historic Entebbe rescue. The The cost to bereaved families is enormous, and I sympathize and send the condolences of the people of Israel to these families and to the American people. Freedom is precious. It has its costs. But if you're not prepared to defend it, if you're not prepared to resist the tyrannies that are trying to arm themselves with the weapons of mass death, you will have no future. And therefore, we're doing what we can. As far as oil prices rising, spikes, you know what a spike is? You know what a spike is? It goes up and goes down. The Americans are working very hard, and we're trying to help them in every way that we can, to open the straits of Hormuz. And if they succeed, which I think they will, then oil prices will come down. But if you say, all right, I'm suffering right now, and people are, then I shouldn't do anything. I should just succumb to the blackmail, let Iran get on with it, let them develop nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles to deliver them to New York and Los Angeles. You're going to be blackmailed in ways that you can't even imagine. I think what this war has done is unmask what Iran is. You know, we've said for years, look at these people. They're doing things that normal regimes do not do. I don't hear even adversaries of the United States chanting death to America, death to the great Satan, massacring tens of thousands of their own people at will like that in 2 days. You have that sometimes. But the combination of fanaticism, deep ideological lunacy, there's no other way to call it, the total and utter ruthlessness of this regime makes it uniquely dangerous. Uniquely dangerous not only to Israel and to the United States, but to everything in between and far beyond. And the fact that this is not recognized, you ask me, okay, what do people think? What did they think in the 30s? What did they think in the 30s when you had a terrible, ruthless, killer regime led by a lunatic that took one country after the other, did it very sequentially? What did they say? They said what? They said, let's stay out of this. It's not our war. It's not our problem. Maybe it's only the Jews. Have we learned nothing, absolutely nothing in these 80 years? We cannot see the danger that lurks. It doesn't lurk. It's risen from the mud. It's right in our face. It's splattering blood right at us. I can't believe that we're clueless. We're not clueless. I talk to many American friends. They're not clueless. They understand this. Some don't. Some are adamantly opposed, but many are adopting a wait-and-see attitude. But I can tell you that I've spoken, as I said a minute ago, I've spoken to many, many leaders. We're talking about dozens and dozens of leaders. And they all say the same thing. I understand it. Some of them come out and say it. They're bold. And some of them say, I don't know, I wish, I understand it, but some of my people don't, or my news media are against me and so on. I was glad to see in the United States that an enormous enormous percentage of President Trump's supporters, traditional supporters, understand it. And I hope that my friends and colleagues of many years on the other side of the aisle, those who understand and agree with what I just said, and there are quite a few of them, have the courage to come out and say it. Because at the end, what is the task of leaders if you're a leader? The most important thing is to assure the security of your people. And that means identifying danger in time and acting against it. That is a prerequisite for the survival of any biological organism. You have to identify danger in time and act in time against it. You either fight or flight. These are the two options you have. Where can you flee? Nowhere, because Iran can reach any part of the world. So you have to, at a certain point, fight. And this is the juncture where we've reached in time. Not too late, but in time. I just will encourage all those who agree with what President Trump is saying, with what I'm saying too, act. I didn't have to convince President Trump of anything. He didn't need any convincing. He acted as a great leader does to protect his country and to protect the future.
Thank you. Next question. Alex Trayman from JNS. JNS, right behind you, yes.
Mr. Prime Minister, Hezbollah has opened up another front against Israel, launching rockets against Israeli civilians. Now ground troops are inside Lebanon. Is there any hesitancy toward launching a full ground operation to eradicate Hezbollah? And what would eradicating Hezbollah do to transform Israel-Lebanon relations and the greater Middle East?
Look, Alex, I can't divulge our battle plans. Obviously, Hezbollah is not what Hezbollah had been. I said in my opening remarks in Hebrew that they were talking about 150,000 rockets and missiles that they had, ballistic missiles. They had thousands of Ridwan terrorists right next to our fence underground, ready to invade. And we knocked them back. We destroyed the bulk of their missile capacity in 6 hours. We knocked out Nasrallah. We destroyed all the Hamas, or rather all the Ridwan infrastructure right next to our border. We now have a security corridor, a security zone that is there that prevents this kind of invasion. And we have plans for the future. Obviously, our number one effort is geared towards Iran. If the regime goes, you know that Hezbollah goes. But in any case, we're devising our plans in such a way that we could remove this threat as well.
Thank you. Final question from Jeremy Diamond at CNN.
Mr. Prime Minister, Jeremy Diamond, CNN. Nice to see you. You've assassinated Iran's supreme leader and dozens of other senior Iranian officials. The result of that so far has been the appointment of a new supreme leader considered to be even more hardline than his father. The Iranian regime is not showing any signs of collapse as of now. So I wonder, what do you say to those who say that killing those individuals is in fact empowering the hardliners in Iran? And are you confident that your strategy will still lead to regime change? And then secondly, if I may, you've also indicated today that you made a commitment to President Trump not to strike these oil and gas facilities in the future. Should President Trump come to you one day and say, oil prices are too high, it's time to end this war, will you listen to him? And do you need the United States in order to continue this campaign alone?
Was that a single question? Jeremy really hogged it, but I'll answer your questions. I'm not sure who's running Iran right now. Mujtaba, the replacement Ayatollah, has not shown his face. Have you seen him? We haven't. And we can't vouch exactly what is happening there. There is a cloud here that's not clear. What we see is that there's a lot of tensions inside the people who are edging for the top. It's not a uniform position. You see that sometimes with the contradictory orders that are given. You know, they do one thing and then they withdraw it and so on. I think it's important that they know that if they think they're going to target the world, target the President of the United States and so on, they themselves are being targeted. That creates a lot of uncertainty. We've found that can have an effect. The removal of Nasrallah has never been really been replaced, because some people are not replaceable. I think the authority and the hold that Khamenei has had is not going to be translated to anyone, not to Mujtaba if he's there, and not to anyone else. But I think this is part of the effort to crack the regime. It's not going to happen in one day. We're 20 days into this war. Yes, we're seeing cracks. We're seeing cracks, and we're trying to propagate them as fast as we can. Not only in the top command, we're seeing cracks in the field. It's sort of like a hollowed out, rotten piece of wood that's holding on the outside, but there's a lot of rot inside. We're seeing some defections. We're seeing fear and trepidation in the IRGC units that are manning the ballistic missiles. You know why? Because they're afraid to die. They're not all suicidal. In fact, most of them are not. So we're seeing cracks, but we're going to hit them again and again. The minimum thing we want to do is, again, erase the industrial capacity that they had to produce these weapons. They'll have to build it from a start, and that's very hard. It's very hard to do underground, too. So they're not going to be able to just take the pieces and move them below the earth. It's going to be a lot harder for them. But ideally, if it cracks enough, and with some other things that I won't get into, yes, the regime could change. Is it guaranteed? No. And is it up to the Iranian people in the final accounting to make use of the conditions that we're doing in weakening this regime? We'll see. I cannot tell you. They're very brave, by the way. I don't come and criticize them in any way. I think they're very brave. I think they've suffered enormously. And the question is, will we have a meeting ground between the weakening of the regime and the rising of the people in many ways that could develop? We'll see. On the oil and gas questions, I can only tell you this. Look, I don't think any two leaders have been as coordinated as President Trump and I. He's the leader. I'm, his ally. America is the leader. Israel is, as the National Security Memorandum described us, I think a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I think, something like that. They called Israel the model ally. That's how they call it, the model ally. It's not a superpower, but America is seeking around the world, and you hear it from the speeches of President Trump and others in the administration. They say, where are you? We've helped you all these years. Where are you when we're doing something that is as important, at least as important for you as it is important for us? And yet one country is there, and against all the vilifications that are leveled at Israel, Israel is sponging off America and all that. No, it's not. It's not. Israel is a brave country, a resolute country with an incredible army, incredible soldiers, incredible courage, and we're fighting alongside the United States when the chips are down. We're fighting with the United States. We're fighting for a common goal. So I can tell you that that's the most important coordination. But in practice, President Trump and I speak regularly. We discuss things, our staffs discuss things, our militaries are in close coordination as never before. But ultimately, President Trump makes his own decisions. And do I respect them? Yes, I do.
The question is whether you would or could continue the war without...
Just one question, Jeremy. Thank you.
Could you without the United States? Without the refueling capabilities, for example?
We're going to close. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
You
Thank
exhausted
you,
your
everyone,
questions.
for your questions today. Thank you, everyone.
תושבי הצפון הם גיבורים. תושבי הצפון עומדים כרגע במעמסה הקשה. כל אזרחי ישראל עומדים במעמסה קשה. אבל הם עומדים במעמסה קשה במיוחד, משום שזמן ההתראה שלהם הוא הכי קצר. ואנחנו מתכוונים לעזור להם בכל דרך, אבל בסוף העזרה הכי גדולה זה להרחיק ולהסיר את האיום, ואנחנו לא נוותר על זה.
Thank you so much.
ואנחנו לא
We're
נוותר
going to
על
be
זה.
concluding now.
תודה
Thank
רבה
you,
לכם.
Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you.
All right, folks, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with some lengthy comments, a pointed remark at the beginning of that. We'll have it for you in full tonight from 7 to 9 here on WCNC Plus. For now, though, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll come right back. And we're back. We're going to go to our weather impact team to get an update as we are towards the end of our work week. Let's go to that now.
We have another nice, very comfortable day today all across the Carolinas, and we're enjoying the sunshine while it lasts, although I do think we'll have a little bit more cloud coverage later in the day. Hey everyone, I'm meteorologist Majestic Storm, and it is going to be a nice Thursday. Temperatures will continue to rise right around into those mid-60s, and that's about the normal for this time of the year. You can see increasing cloud coverage already happening there at Lake Norman, but the big story today is that it's finally not so cold. The last couple of days, we've been struggling with those cold temperatures, not just those starting temperatures, but even those overall daytime highs. We'll be back into the mid-60s this afternoon, 70s by tomorrow, and then taking a look ahead at this weekend, did you know that we have 80-degree temperatures on the way? If you're heading out the door this afternoon, just keep a light layer handy. You might want a jacket. Really, at times, you may not need it with those mid-60s returning. We will have more clouds as we're wrapping up our Thursday, and then it clears out nicely overnight tonight. The mountains, over the last couple of days, it's been a struggle. Just 2 days ago, your high temperatures were in the 20s, so I'm sure these 50s are feeling pretty nice. 55 there in Boone, 54 in Blowing Rock. Not a ton of sunshine today there in the mountains. You're already tapping into a lot of cloud coverage that will ultimately spread across the rest of the Carolinas later on today. 67 in Morganton, mid-60s there in Maiden, and that's exactly where we'll be today here in the Queen City. Just an overall really pleasant day. 66 in Monroe and 66 in Lancaster. Today is the last full day of winter. Did you know that? Tomorrow is officially the first day of spring, and boy, are we happy about it. Spring officially starts tomorrow at 10:46 in the morning, so it is going to be spring, and thankfully it is going to be a beautiful spring day. The one thing that's not so great when it comes to spring-like conditions will be the pollen. How are your allergies doing? I know a lot of people who suffer from allergies. It has been a struggle. Unfortunately, this weekend it is going to worsen, so make sure you're taking care of yourself and getting yourself ready and prepared. It's just that time of the year. Satellite and radar looks fine. No rain chances today or tomorrow. Isolated chances on Saturday. We're drying things out again on Sunday, and only a spotty chance again on Monday. It is going to be nice for Thursday, even after dinner time. If you're somebody who likes to go out and walk your neighborhood as you're heading into the hours after dinner time, it'd be a nice evening to do that. Heading out the door for our Friday, temperatures mainly into the 30s and 40s, so a little cool in the morning, but Friday afternoon, we're back into the 70s. This is our day planner for tomorrow. Notice plenty of sunshine for the first half of our day. Temperatures climb into the 70s, and then a little bit more cloud coverage later in the day. Now, as far as the next several days ahead, I think truthfully, the big story is we're seasonal today. We're back into the mid-70s tomorrow, and then 80-degree temperatures will return both Saturday and Sunday. I don't think we'll break any records, but we're going to get mighty close to that. Heading into next week on Tuesday, highs only rising into the upper 50s. So it's March. Those temperatures are kind of just all over the place. So my question for you is, do you have any outdoor plans this weekend? I hope you do, especially if you love beautiful, warm weather. Saturday, 82 degrees, perfect conditions even if you're waking up early and heading out to the golf course, or maybe you're taking your boat out, you're heading out to go fishing. 88 on Sunday, so it is going to be a warm one. There's that Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. We're back to normal today, getting warmer by Friday, 75 degrees. That is nice. 2 80-degree days Saturday and Sunday. Tuesday will feel a little bit cooler, but then we'll warm right back up. Hope you have a great day.
All right, everyone, we're going to take another 2-minute break. Of course, watching this Duke-Siena game right now. North Carolina plays later on tonight. Nick Carboni will have both of those throughout our newscast on WCNC Charlotte. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll see you after this. Welcome back, everyone. We are going to go to a live trial right now happening in Hawaii. It's an anesthesiologist who is standing trial after he allegedly tried to kill his wife while they were hiking on a trail in Hawaii. Pretty outstanding type of story in terms for crime documentaries. I'm sure they're already writing this down. We are going to go to this right now as this is happening, I think, in real time, live.
And how she looked like immediately after this happened. You'll hear from Ariel herself. She'll testify as to what happened on March 24th, her birthday. And she'll testify on March 24th of this year. 1 year later. She'll describe what happened that day. She'll describe the 3 months, almost 4 months, leading up to that day. She'll describe this cheating that the defendant was upset about. Because back in December 2024, the defendant found WhatsApp messages between Ariel and a coworker. Ariel describes them as flirty. You will see the messages. You will see the messages, and you will get to see what they say. There's nothing lewd. There's nothing sexual. There's nothing romantic. They're flirty. But this was an issue in their relationship. The defendant was upset. Ariel wanted to stay in the relationship. They take the steps. They go to couples counseling. Things are getting better. Things are getting better. And Ariel keeps thinking, okay, now it's time. A romantic trip, birthday weekend, we're back on track. Lastly, Ariel will explain what happened after this incident. So after March 24th, what kind of injuries she had, what kind of effects they had on her. She'll explain, and you will hear testimony, that Ariel, after this happened, by several days, removed the money from a joint bank account that she shared with the defendant. You'll hear that Ariel removed that money, that she used it to pay the mortgage, that she used it to pay for the tuition for the children she shared with the defendant, that she used it to pay marital debt that they'd incurred, that she used it to pay the defendant's own credit card bills. So you'll see what Ariel did with that money. Okay. Beyond that, you'll hear scientific evidence in this case. There will be DNA testimony. All of the blood that was found on the trail was swabbed. All that blood was subjected to DNA testing. And all of that blood, through the DNA testing, shows an incredibly high likelihood ratio that supports it is Ariel's blood and only her blood. But not only the blood from the trail. Several different swabs from the defendant's clothes recovered from his person all will show Ariel's blood and none will show his. You'll see the evidence that was collected. You'll see the rock. You'll see the rock that was recovered from the trail. The bottom half jagged, covered in Ariel's blood. You'll also hear in this case what's called digital forensics. The police recovered a laptop, the defendant's laptop. And they looked through that laptop for certain terms, and they found...
All right, folks, going to take a quick 2-minute break away from this trial. We will come back to this right after this break. All right, folks, we are back. We're going to go back to this Hawaii court situation, this trial, I should say, of this anesthesiologist standing trial and the alleged he tried to kill, allegedly, his wife on a hiking trail in Hawaii. So we're going to go to this live right now again.
Just ran into him. So you hear from them what they saw, what the defendant did, and how they managed to catch him. And at the end of this case, at the end of all this evidence, the state will come back, the evidence will show, and the state will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Dr. Gerhard Koenig consciously, intentionally made a choice on March 24th, 2025 to try to take a life. And when the state does that, we will ask you to find the defendant guilty as charged. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Mr. Osaki, are you ready to present the defendant's opening statement?
I am, Your Honor. Thank you.
Please.
Just a second to get set up here.
Take your time, whenever you're ready.
Thanks.
Ready? Please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There are often two sides to every story, and it's only fair that we wait to hear both sides before we start to make up our mind. You just heard one side. You just heard one side. And this is my opportunity to share with you the other side. To share with you the full story, both sides. To share with you the complex human interactions between Gerhard and his wife, and the complex human chain of events between December and March that resulted in him sitting here falsely accused of attempted murder. And the evidence will show he is falsely accused of attempted murder. And let me get one thing straight from the start. He never ever confessed to his son on that phone call. The evidence will show that's not true. This is a long, complex human story. And I'm going to walk you through all the details of it this morning. However, The evidence will show that this story, this human story, can be summarized best in 3 words, just in summary, 3.
All right, folks, that's our time here on WCNC Plus. Of course, we still have Weather Impact, news from 7 to 9, and Unfiltered at 9. See you then.